militants were killed in a building, and they're looking to see if Sinwar was one of them. The Pentagon says the U.S. Air Force has bombed multiple sites in Yemen where Houthi fighters were storing weapons they've been using to attack ships in the Red Sea. NPR's Greg Myrie reports the airstrike is the latest sign of stepped-up U.S. military activity in the region.
Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin said Air Force B-2 bombers hit 5 underground weapons storage locations in Yemen. For the past year, the Houthis have been firing on commercial vessels in the Red Sea, disrupting global shipping. The long-range B-2 bombers carry a much larger payload than the fighter jets the U.S. has periodically used in the region. Austin said, quote, "We will continue to make clear to the Houthis that there will be consequences for their illegal and reckless attacks." The Pentagon also announced recently that U.S. troops were setting up an advanced air defense system in Israel to guard against missile attacks from Iran. Greg Myrie, NPR News, Washington.
Former President Donald Trump participated in a town hall yesterday near Miami, hosted by Univision. NPR's Franco Ordonez says Trump talked about the economy in an effort to court Latino voters.
It was largely an economic pitch, arguing that Latinos were better off when he was president. I mean, he spoke about his plans to lower energy costs and inflation. He spoke about the jobs he's provided. But he was also pressed by some of the attendees about his plans for immigration. Like when a California farmer named Jorge Velazquez asked who would do the farm work if Trump carried out his promise to deport millions of undocumented immigrants. Trump pivoted to talk about crimes committed by those here illegally.
NPR's Franco Ordonez reporting. The Small Business Administration says it has run out of money as businesses around the country work to recover from disasters such as hurricanes. NPR's Windsor Johnston has more.
John Bigland is the co-founder of East Fork, a pottery company based in Asheville, one of the cities hit hardest by Hurricane Helene in North Carolina. Bigland says he applied for federal assistance, but he hasn't heard back.
I guess we could say cautious optimism, but knowing that this isn't something we should necessarily count on, and now it's looking even less certain. So we're going to do what we can, but we are going to continue with our application and hope for the best.
The Small Business Administration says its loan application process remains open and it will continue to accept requests. But ultimately, it will be up to Congress to approve additional funding for the program. Windsor Johnston, NPR News.
On Wall Street, the Dow is up 50 points. This is NPR.
Good morning. With the latest from the GBH Newsroom, I'm Henry Santoro. In-person early voting begins this weekend here in Massachusetts. GBH's Mark Hers has details.
Starting Saturday, if you're registered to vote, you can skip the Election Day lines at your polling location and vote early in person. That's, of course, assuming you haven't already sent a mail-in ballot. Around 280,000 voters in the state have done that so far. You can find out the early voting schedule and locations for your city or town at voteinma.com. In Boston, I'm Mark Hers, GBH News 89.7.
Roughly 25 Harvard University professors conducted a silent study-in at Widener Library yesterday to protest the library's decision to temporarily ban pro-Palestine students who held a similar demonstration last month. Harvard spokesperson Jason Newton wrote in a statement that Harvard and the library system will continue to gather information about the study-in before determining next steps. Meanwhile, Harvard Law School professor Andrew Crespo, who participated in the event, disagrees with the university's decision to bar protesters from the library, questioning how a silent protest could be considered disruptive. In sports, Thursday night football, it's the Broncos at the Saints. Baseball playoffs tonight. Playoffs, Yankees at Cleveland, Dodgers at Mets. And in the forecast, we're looking at 5 days of sunshine and changing leaves, upper 50s today, 60s tomorrow and Saturday, 70s on Sunday and Monday. 50 degrees in Boston right now. This is GBH News.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Capital One, offering their premium travel card, Venture X. What's in your wallet? Terms apply. Details at CapitalOne.com. And listeners like you who donate to this NPR station.
Our programs are made possible thanks to you. And Boston Children's Hospital, ranked the #1 pediatric hospital in the world by Newsweek. Boston Children's, where the world comes for answers. bostonchildrens.org/answers. And the law firm of Davis Malm, Their family attorneys are committed to your family matters. Learn more at davismalm.com. That's DAVISMALM.com. Davis Malm. Lean, agile, strategic.
Eastern Browdy, I am Marjorie Egan. You're listening to Boston Public Radio 89.7 GBH. We are broadcasting from our home base in Brighton and streaming still on youtube.com/GBH News. Yeah, we don't usually stream from here, but
okay,
this
but
is
we are now.
A new
Fine.
thing. Okay, tomorrow we're going to be back at the Boston Public Library for our final ballot question debate. That's question 1. Should the state auditor audit the legislature? Plus, the great comedian Jenny Slate is going to zoom in, and Live Music Friday features a performance with singer-songwriter Adam Ezra. Hi, Jim.
Hey there, Marjorie. How are you?
Good.
So today it's question 3. Joining us now is Roxana Rivera. She's with the group United for Justice. She's the leader of the Service Employees International Union. She's here to urge us to vote yes on 3. At the heart of the question, whether drivers for rideshare services like Uber and Lyft as independent contractors should have the right to unionize. Now, as for the representatives for vote no, and they've been here all week, there isn't one here. We did reach out to the Massachusetts Fiscal Alliance, which wrote the no argument for the Secretary of State, but they declined to participate. And interestingly, Uber and Lyft appear to be staying out of the fray, but we'll discuss that with Roxana in a minute. So now joining us on Zoom is Roxana Rivera. Roxana, thanks so much for your time. We're glad to have you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Hi, Roxanne. Thank you, as Jim said, for joining us. So tell us, why should the voters of Massachusetts vote yes on question 3?
Well, voting yes on question 3 is giving rideshare drivers what almost every Massachusetts worker already has, is the option to join a union. So many people have come to rely on rideshare drivers just to get, across the state safely every day. But the reality is that many of the drivers, this is their primary source of income. 80% of the trips are done by full-time drivers. That means that they have to work up to 70 hours a week many times to make ends meet. And so that there is no other way for these drivers to be able to have this option. There's no federal process for these rideshare drivers, as well as no state process. And so yes on 3 would give them that option to join a union, and then would give them the power to be able to negotiate directly with the companies to talk about their pay and working conditions.
So, but just to be clear, though, we would be if the yes vote prevails, we'd be the first state where people who are not formally employees would be able to unionize. Is that right?
So we will be the first state where rideshare drivers will be able to have the option to join a union, because nowhere in the country our rideshare drivers have the option, because they are not covered under the National Labor Relations
because
Act
they're not
by
employees, because they're not technically found to be employees, right?
There's 2 different issues on the issue of the federal, right? They are not covered by federal law. To be able, that gives everybody here in Massachusetts a right to join a union.
Mm-hmm. So let me, just a little background. I don't want to get lost in the weeds, but I think it's important. We've discussed this with the Attorney General when she's been on the show. But the Attorney General had a lawsuit, starting with Attorney General Healy, by the way, before she was governor, that would have, if successful, would have made the drivers technically employees. This AG, Andrea Campbell, agreed to drop it, in return for which the rideshare companies dropped their ballot question that would have formally I guess, and forevermore, unless the law was changed, made rideshare drivers independent contractors. Their pay went up. They got paid sick leave, paid family and medical leave, though they would not be technically employees. Were you happy with the deal that was cut by the Attorney General for the rideshare drivers?
So we're glad that the Attorney General helped workers avoid a worst case scenario if basically the companies would have gone through with the ballot measure that they were proposing to do. We believe what the AG got to an agreement with the companies is a start, but in setting some basic standards in this industry, but it didn't address fully the reality that these drivers face.
Like what?
It doesn't
account.
It doesn't account for all their time worked. So all the wait time between getting rides is not basically covered, and so that's why they have to face the reality of working up to 70 hours a week just to basically be able to make enough money to provide for their families. It doesn't account for all the out-of-pocket costs, right? Which you're talking about: the car, the maintenance, the insurance, the tolls, the gas, and folks invest, right? They invest capital in getting a car in order to do this at the very beginning, and so that is a constant weight on the drivers, and so that's why we believe that they need to have the option to join a union to be able to make further improvements. But the Attorney General's settlement was a start, and that's, we are happy that she's actually supporting this ballot initiative, and she's said, directly to the companies that she does see our ballot initiative as an extension of her settlement talks.
We're talking to Roxana Rivera, who is the lead person for Yes on question 3.
Roxana, just to elaborate a little bit on what you said, and correct me if I'm wrong, but as you said, the $32.50 hourly wage that came from the settlement is only when the drivers are actually driving people around while they're waiting to get another call, or they're not getting that wage. I understand it. Plus, they don't get any unemployment or workers' comp. That's correct as well. Correct.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
The one thing I did wonder about, though, usually when you are employees and you're trying to get a union, you need to get half the people plus one, I believe, to get a union. Here it's 12.5%, and I wonder about that, because that could mean, if it's only 12.5% are needed, that could mean that the majority of people don't want a union. So how do you explain that?
So the process requires 25% of active drivers and to basically say they want to be part of the union in order for the union to be recognized and be able to begin negotiating with the companies. And then there needs to be more than a 50% of rideshare drivers that actually approve any agreement. And that's actually, that 50% is even higher than what is in federal law, required by federal law. And so this is the threshold in regards to just being recognized as a union is slightly lower than federal law, because you have to understand we're dealing with a workforce that has no work site, no set schedules, right? They have the other challenges, right, to organizing with these companies, that they can reach these drivers with the push of a button, right? And so, but we've put in things in this legislation that will, have oversight by the Secretary of Labor, that is going to have to review and approve whatever agreement is reached by the rideshare drivers and the company.
Roxana Rivera, I've used to do ballot questions for a living many ages ago. I can't think of a high-profile, important ballot question like this one where the other side was taking a walk. And I have to say, Uber and Lyft, as I assume most of our listeners know, spend close to $200 million on a ballot fight in California, so they know how to spend money to get their way. What's your explanation? What's your analysis as to why they're sort of backbenching this? Is it waiting to sue? They think the legislature will repeal it. They don't think your ballot question is as powerful as you think it is. What's their agenda here? Why are they not fighting this actively?
So I believe that they've done their own polling, right? They see the numbers. This ballot initiative is very popular, right? And we believe that it will win. I think they've made a calculation, right? The popularity of unions, right, is at an all-time high we haven't seen in decades. So I think they've made a calculation in a presidential election that this is not the moment in which they want to take the fight on for the rideshare drivers, but we do expect them fighting the rideshare drivers and all the next steps that we have to do to actually, for drivers to even be recognized and then actually have to negotiate a contract. And we also believe that the Attorney General's recent settlement also helped in deterring the companies, initially coming out forcefully opposing this ballot initiative. But again, they're going to continue, and we expect them to fight drivers if we win this ballot measure.
Roxana, Tufts every year, Evan Horowitz, who does the work for Tufts, puts out an analysis of all these ballot questions, and Evan did one for question 3 as well. And his arguments for the no side, which is not what you want, obviously, one of them is the question of cost, how much more consumers would have to pay for Uber and Lyft drivers, and Uber and Lyft has done a wonderful thing, actually, to reduce the incidence of drunk driving, which is a great thing. But what about the cost? What do you tell voters about that?
So the Uber and Lyft, they want to keep their customers happy, right? They've already been taking a lion's share of the rides, of the profit of the rides from rideshare drivers, right? And so they can take a little less, right? And still, keep their customers happy, as well as ensure that drivers can have a living wage here in Massachusetts.
Roxana Rivera, one of the last things from me is, in light of the fact that you'd be doing, if you prevail, a groundbreaking thing for unionization in the rideshare industry, I was surprised at first that there are some pieces of organized labor, including important pieces, that are staying neutral on this question. And what they argue, let me try to sum it up, is that this is not good precedent, meaning that while unionization is always a good thing from their perspective, in light of the fact this would be a union of independent contractors, not of employees, and as a result wouldn't have rights to things like unemployment insurance, workers' comp, et cetera, that you're setting, if you prevail, a bad precedent vis-a-vis the workers' rights of gig workers. How do you respond to that argument, Roxana?
So drivers are hurting now, right? And this is not the first time that Massachusetts has addressed a similar situation for a workforce. So home care providers and child care workers were in the same predicament, where they were not covered under federal law and so they didn't have the option to form a union. And so Massachusetts legislature gave them that right. And again, they had this is not a shared work site, no set schedules, right? Tens of thousands of workers across the state. And because that was done, we have improved the care industry, right? For the clients as well as the workers. And we think that we can do that same thing here with this, new industry with, for not only drivers, but for passengers as well.
So, Roxana, before you, ordinarily I'd say, okay, for the no side, why don't you go first and tell us why people should vote no?
Rebuttal.
But they are not here. So why don't you take 30 or 40 seconds and just give us a recap. Why is a yes vote the correct vote for the voters of Massachusetts, Roxana Rivera?
So it will give rideshare drivers what already is guaranteed to most workers here in Massachusetts, which is the option to form a union. And so this, again, rideshare drivers are hurting. They are having to work up to 70 hours a week just to make ends meet. It is their primary source of income. And so we want the public to basically give them, the option so that they can sit down with the companies and talk about the issues that affect them so that they can take care of their families here in Massachusetts. These are tens of thousands of working families. There are 70,000 workers here in Massachusetts that operate for these rideshare companies. Wow. and that are registered with the Department of Public Utilities, right? And they're largely immigrants and people of color, right? And it's not only pay issues that they deal with, It's also just how these giants like Uber and Lyft operates, right? So one of the biggest issues is deactivation. There is unfair deactivations where there's no process for the driver to be, and that's what we want to put in place, right? If we can get to negotiating with the companies around a process that's fair to the drivers, as well as make sure that it keeps safety first for the passengers.
We appreciate that. Roxana Rivera, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it today.
Thank you.
We've been speaking with Roxana Rivera from United for Justice, arguing in favor of question 3, that is whether to allow rideshare drivers the right to unionize. Representatives against question 3, as Jim said, declined to join us in this debate. Thanks again to Roxana. United for Justice has a website. If you want more information, you can go to driversneedaunion.org. That's driversneedaunion.org. If you want info on the opposing side, go to massfiscal.org. That's massfiscal.org. Okay, tomorrow is our final ballot question debate. Mark your calendars. We are tackling question 1 on whether State Auditor Diana DiZoglio can audit the state legislature. But first, we're going to hang on the question of rideshare workers. When we get back, we're going to open the lines at 877-301-8970. You can talk about that, voting on question 3, how you're voting on question 3. But we're going to debate the other questions as well if you want to weigh in with your opinions. And the ones we're not going to do auditing the legislature because that's tomorrow, but we're going to talk about how do you feel about authorizing the use of some psychedelic drugs, tipped wages for servers, and the MCAS exam. Stick around. 877-301-8970. You're listening to Boston Public Radio 89.7 GBH.
Think about it. For 3 hours every day, you get to hear thought-provoking conversations on local, national, and international issues for free. It only happens with your support, so please support your Boston Public Radio listening by calling 888-897-9424 or giving online at gbhnews.org.
Okay, we've got big breaking news here. This is the last day for pledge. So if you've been listening all week, as we've done every single ballot question, we've got one more to do tomorrow.
We do.
If you've been listening all week and you've gotten your info on the ballot questions, and maybe it's helped you decide how to vote, we did a little public service there. So if you've been hesitating, it might be an opportunity. I enjoyed it too. To give the number again, 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org. We have 2 real wonderful enticements today, Jim. We have the 89.7 GBH Hi-Fi stereo earbuds, which is wonderful. They have a little charging case featuring the logo here. They work with anything, your phone, your tablet, Bluetooth-enabled device. And we have, since the cold weather is coming, our official GBH fleece-lined knit hat.
Oh,
that is for
both. You get both?
You get them both.
Wow.
It's a twofer. And you get that for donating $12 a month, which makes you a sustainer member, which means you get all this great stuff, and our budgeteers get to figure out what they have to spend for the year. 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org.
Can I expand upon what you said? We're doing every ballot question this week.
Yes, we are.
Tell me if I missed anybody. You got the governor for an hour yesterday, the attorney general for an hour the day before.
Yep.
Sunny Williams, which was one of the most fun things we've ever done from the International Space Station.
Astronaut.
She is fabulous.
From Needham.
Tomorrow, the former head of the Environmental Protection Agency, Gina McCarthy, is joining us. Jenny Slate, one of the great comedians in America, who happens to live in Massachusetts. On and on and on down the list. This is a lot of content, a lot of entertainment, a lot of information. If you value that, then call 888-897-9424 or go to gbhnews.org. By the way, a lot of people are going to ask this. So let's get this out of the way. The earbuds don't automatically fall into the mulch and you lose them on day one, which Marjorie did.
People have heard this many times
well,
before,
they're about to hear it again. Marjorie got them. She upped her ante, upped her contribution. We didn't get them free. Day one, she lost them while she was gardening. In the mulch. But that's not automatic. Most people don't lose them in the mulch at all, actually. So do that for the earbuds and the knit hat thing with the GBH deal on it. $12.50 a month or $150 all at once. Last day of the drive. If you're a procrastinator like I am, today's the day to do it. 888-897-9424 or gbhnews.org.
Support for GBH comes from you. And Rockland Trust Bank, committed to helping individuals and local businesses work towards their financial goals by providing financial advice and resources. More at rocklandtrust.org. Rockland Trust Bank, where each relationship matters. Member FDIC. And the University of Massachusetts Amherst Mount Ida campus in Newton, connecting students and employers in Greater Boston and offering on-campus graduate and pre-college programs. Learn more at umass.edu/Mount Ida campus.
Welcome back to Boston Public Radio. We're streaming live from Studio 3 in Brighton at youtube.com/GBH News. And at 1 o'clock today, we're going to be joined by Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley. That's 1 o'clock today. So until the top of this hour, we're going to do some talking about the ballot question we just discussed that would give rideshare drivers in Massachusetts the right to unionize. That's question 3. We spoke to Roxana Rivera, who was a yes vote leader. The no side is taking a pass, I assume, because Uber and Lyft have a ton of dough until it passes, if it does, and then we'll see what they're due. But since we have a little extra time, since there wasn't a no side, not only can we discuss question 3 and whether you're voting yes or no or why, but if you want to go look back at all the questions we've debated this week, we have not done question 1. That's tomorrow. We did yesterday eliminating the MCAS graduation requirement. Question 2. Question 3 we did today. Question 4, legalizing certain psychedelic drugs. Or question 5, raising the minimum wage for tipped workers to the statewide minimum wage. You want to comment on any of them? We are here for you until the top of the hour. 877-301-8970. It's pretty hard to come up with an argument against, and they weren't here, against this ballot question number 3, unionization. I mean, I assume most people think, particularly now, if workers decide that they want to form a union democratically, I mean, there is an issue that you raised with her about the threshold, the percentage, but if people want a union, I mean, unless you're some right-wing zealot, my assumption is you think they're entitled, as long as it's fair, to have a union. No or no?
Yeah, I think the 12% you mentioned, usually if you have a union, the vote is a 50 plus kind of thing, so half the people want it. This is a lower threshold. But I mean, I think unions are more popular than they've ever been, because I think a lot of people are realizing that you can get really screwed. I mean, one of the things that they were talking about, Uber and Lyft, Roxana was talking about, is if someone makes a complaint about a driver, you can get deactivated immediately without really kind of a due process thing. You may have just had some out-of-line passenger, and it's not necessarily the driver's fault, so that's kind of a scary thing, so that would give them some protection there. Anyway, 877-301-8970. We're talking about any ballot question you want, except for question 1 about auditing the legislature, which we're going to talk about tomorrow. We'll have a debate on that tomorrow. Let's start with, you want to say something?
No,
Jim?
I was going to say what you said, and you said it beautifully.
Sammy from...
You really said it very nicely.
Well, thank you, Jim.
Okay.
Sammy from Melrose, thank you for calling.
Hey, Sammy.
Hey, guys.
Hi.
I guess it's the usual. I'm a long-time listener and a couple-time caller.
We love that. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. You have a great show.
Thank you.
The reason I'm calling is I've been an Uber and Lyft driver going on 6 years, and I just wanted to talk about, some of the ways the companies treat the riders. Treat the drivers.
Yep.
I remember this was a year and a half ago, maybe. So I'm doing this ride, and the rider just happens to mention that, she's paying a lot for the ride. And that's curious to me, because I knew that I was only getting $16 for the ride. You can see the price when you accept the ride.
Mm-hmm.
So she actually showed me her phone. I wouldn't have believed it if she didn't show me it. She showed me her phone, and the ride that I was getting paid $16 for, Lyft was charging her $81.
What?
That is unbelievable.
I could not believe it, but I checked her phone. It was $81, and I checked my phone again. It was $16. Now, I'm not saying that the discrepancy is always that large, because I don't believe it is, but the way they formulate their payment and their prices is so murky. They don't tell anyone about it, unless you're asking each rider. How much are you being charged?
Yeah, can I tell you something,
Yeah,
Sammy?
I know.
I don't know. I'd like to hear how you're voting on question 3, but not advocating for it, but as a former union president myself, an issue like that discrepancy is something that a union could negotiate with Uber or Lyft about.
I'm also curious, Timmy, what do you think? You think it was surge pricing, rush hour kind of deal, or
just
was she
the
going to
screwing?
Hawaii or something?
Yeah. Well, it was a Friday night, so I think it was surge pricing.
Yeah, okay.
But
I don't think the issue is
I
don't think the issue is the 81. That's bad enough. The issue is him getting 1/5 of the 81.
No, I'm just curious. What would
Okay.
be their justification for charging somebody $81?
Or a little less than 1/5. Yeah, more.
Well, that's just the thing. We have no way of finding out because they're not obligated to tell people how they form their prices.
How you voting? How you voting?
I'm definitely voting for the union. Definitely, because drivers need more say. I mean, we've all seen how corporations treat their workers when they don't have a say, and Uber and Lyft can say whatever they want. But yeah, they do lip service to improving things for drivers, and they only really improve it when they have to, like when the AG sued them. So I'm a definite yes.
Sammy, that was an excellent call.
Thanks
for making it. Appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to us.
877-301-8970. By the way, let me add one more fact to this that we didn't get into with Roxana because I don't think the average voter cares. Something also unusual about this ballot question: if this passes and drivers can form a union, it would not be for an individual company; it'd be sector-wide, which is very unusual. Meaning rideshare ride. It does not cover, the Grubhub drivers and those sort of thing. It's just the rideshare.
Well, you know what I wonder, since you are former union president,
I am a former
lot
union
about this
president.
kind of thing.
Thank you very much.
What are the implications for gig workers in general of a unionization?
Well, the issue that I raised, with people are split. I mean, there's a wonderful story in the Globe about this the other day in organized labor. I don't know if anybody organization is formally against it, but some are neutral. And as I said to Roxana, she believes that getting a union, even if they're independent contractors, is an important step, and it obviously is a step. There are others who are concerned, and by the way, she's a deeply respected union leader, regardless of where people are on this issue. Roxana is. Some people think it sets a very bad precedent that even if they get a union, they remain independent contractors. And as I said to her, as independent contractors, they're not eligible for unemployment insurance, workers' comp. And by the way, that is not something that's negotiable. It's a decision about employee status. And they're worried. Some people are worried. I'm not saying, I don't know how large the number is in the labor movement, that it sets a bad precedent.
One last quick thing.
Yes.
Could not the union bargain for those additions?
They can't, no, because it's a legal issue.
Okay.
The law
All right.
says you're entitled to.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Judy.
President Browdy.
Thank you. Well, former president to you.
Judy from Brookline. Thanks for calling.
Actually, call me president now. I liked it a little bit. Judy in Brookline. I'm sorry. Hi, Judy.
Hi. I was actually looking at that Globe article also from Tuesday on the front page of the paper.
Yep.
And the section that got me was about many drivers don't want to be classified as employees at all because they would lose their flexibility to work whenever they want.
You want me to comment on that?
Yeah.
That is, Marjorie.
Did you comment on it?
Yeah, it is ridiculous. It is a phony argument from employers. Unions, by the way, if there is a union and they negotiate, the union can say, we want our employees to have 100% flexibility, and obviously have to negotiate over, or they can say, we'll give you total power over it. But this notion that because a union comes into existence, all flexibility, it disappears. Tons of unions, including ones I used to represent, Judy, have flex time where the employees themselves decide what hours to work. So it is a totally phony argument. It's dependent upon what the union demands and what they're strong enough to negotiate for. So does that answer your question?
Yes, great. Thanks for clarifying.
Judy, well, thank you for calling. 877-301-8970. By the way, we're really happy people are calling about question 3 that we discussed today, this union potential for rideshare drivers. But as we said, because we have a little more time today, because there was no side on question 3, if you want to discuss either eliminating the MCAS's graduation requirement, which we'll discuss with the Secretary of Education at 12:30 today, legalizing psychedelic drugs, that's question 4, or raising the minimum wage for tipped workers, that's question 5. 877-301-8970.
We'll be right back after this quick break.
Boston Public Radio. Live, local conversations every day, brought to you by listener support. Now it's your turn to keep the conversation going with an ongoing contribution in any amount. Please sign up as a sustaining member during our fall membership drive. Call 888-897-9424 or give online at gbhnews.org.
You know, I mentioned a minute ago, we've had a hell of a week here in terms of people who've been kind enough to join us from the debaters actually, on the 5 ballot questions. The last one's tomorrow, the governor, the attorney general. I have to say, you know, when we go out in the world and people often say, what was the worst interview you ever did? What was the best? I have to say Sonny Williams is going to be in the top 5.
Friends of mine I never hear from about my show.
Same experience. It's our show.
Yeah, our show.
Thank you.
Sometimes they'll say, you know, I happen to be in the car and I just happened to go by your station. I don't know why they do that preface. But anyway, I got 3 congratulations yesterday from people who don't usually about Sonny Williams. She was great.
By the way, it wasn't about us. It was about her, and she was fabulous. Last week, I just realized Ken and Sarah Burns about the new film on Leonardo that's coming. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff here, and it costs money to do it. And so here's your opportunity to help fund that at gbhnews.org or 888-897-9424. I'm sure you've memorized this already. More than 70% of our money comes from listener support. That'd be you. Less than 10% comes from the government. So for this station and all of our wonderful colleagues who do wonderful work. Oh, by the way, there's going to be a debate tonight at 7 o'clock, too.
That's right.
In the Senate race, the final debate in the Deaton versus Warren thing, Channel 2 and on the radio.
7 o'clock tonight.
That costs something. That's of great value. And if you value it, 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org.
Plus, we always have our great gifts for people that want to give on a monthly basis, which, frankly, is easier on your wallet, giving, $10 a month, $12 a month, and giving a lot of money all at one time. And we will entice you today with the 89.7 GBH Hi-Fi stereo earbuds. They have the logo from the station on it. They work with everything. And we also have this charcoal gray beanie-style cap with fleece on the inside, folding cuff, also with the GBH 89.7 logo. This is the last...
Well, mention what the other thing is on the cap, which is great. There's an image, a cartoon image, of the earbud falling out of Marjorie's ear into the mulch. Never to be found again. That's like a collector's item.
It was unbelievable. It was this huge pile of mulch.
Day one.
I think the earbuds, these ones are white, but I think those were black.
I don't remember.
Which makes it really difficult
to
find black earbuds in
really
a dark brown pile, 3-foot pile of mulch. So it was very sad. I was listening to my podcast and all of a sudden, whoops, they were all gone. But anyway, you just... They're better earbuds now. You don't have to worry about that kind of thing. They fit in your ears better. So that's $12.50 a month or $150 all at once. And that's only available till 7 o'clock tonight. 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org.
Welcome back to Boston Public Radio. Jim Browdy and Marjorie, and we're streaming live from Studio 3 in Brighton at youtube.com/gbhnews. Tomorrow, Jenny Slate zooms in. Gina McCarthy, former head of the EPA, talk about fabulous timing. She is with us as well. A whole bunch of other wonderful things. Until the top of the hour, we're discussing, in particular, question 3, because we had a representative of the yes side that would allow for unionization of rideshare drivers. The no side chose not to participate in a debate. And if you want to discuss any of the other questions we've done, with the exception of question 1, because that debate's tomorrow morning, 877-301-8970.
Gail in Norwood, thank you for calling.
Hi, how are you?
Excellent.
Great.
Good. Listen, I'm a Lyft driver. I don't drive for Uber, but I drive for Lyft. And what Jim just said about that being the stupidest thing he's ever heard about not being employees, it is so much.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I didn't say that at all. What I said, the question, Gail, was about the flexibility issue. I said nothing about stupid about being an employee or not. Excuse me. Well, I didn't say it, so don't characterize it that way. Let me say what I said again. For those opponents of this, and it's fine to be an opponent, who say automatically flexibility in schedule will be lost, I negotiated flexibility in schedule for my members for years. So it is not automatically lost at all, but continue.
But I think that's what the big hang-up is for drivers not wanting to become employees, is that ability. I mean, if I'm driving down the road and I want to stop and get a coffee, I just turn my app off and I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
Where you have DoorDash, you have to sign up for like a block of time. If you don't log in during that block, you lose that and you don't get to work.
Well, let me clarify where our difference is, and I think you make a good point too, Gail. If these drivers had employee status, which, by the way, is not even an issue, if this question passes, you don't become employees. You're still independent contractors, who are allowed to join a union. But so actually, I shouldn't even address that thing. The employee issue is off the table for now. Doesn't change employment status. It just says even though you'd still be an independent contractor, which obviously doesn't raise the issue of flexibility at all, you're entitled to join a union. Am I clearer than I was before, Gail?
Yeah, I get that.
Okay.
First of all, I don't understand why they even are putting this out for a vote. I don't understand why we as rideshare drivers can't vote on this ourselves without having it go to the general public.
I'll tell you why. Because you are not employees, and the only people under federal and state law who are entitled to form a union are people who are employees. And since you're not, there needs to be a new law that would allow rideshare drivers as contractors to form a union. So unless the law is changed, you couldn't do it. That's the bottom line. Gail, I'm sorry if I left you with started with a misunderstanding, but I'm glad you called. Good luck. Thanks. 877-301-8970.
Bridget from Milton wants to know when we're debating question 6.
Which is that exactly? That's good.
I don't know. I was just wanting to make sure I didn't miss a question there.
We haven't discussed it all this week.
There is no question 6.
There isn't, at least as far as we know. One of the things we should have said, a lot of people aren't crazy about ballot questions because some things are straightforward, some are complex. One of the reasons they're ballot questions is because we have the least effective legislature in America.
Straighten these things out. I know.
There were 3 questions on the ballot over a decade. I think it was roughly a decade on marijuana. Decriminalization, medicinal, and legalization for recreational. The only reason the voters had to deal with that is because the legislature didn't.
Oh, and every politician, who's the exception?
I know who was.
Andrea Cabral, who's going to be on with us today.
When she was an elected official.
When she was an elected official. She was the only one that said it should be recreationally decriminalized or made legal, and before that, medicinally made legal.
We had elected officials who weren't even for medicinal.
Oh, yeah. That's right. I mean, we were like hysterical. And that's one of the things about psychedelic drugs is that we are hysterical about drugs in general that are not prescription drugs. And yet people still get oxycodone when they have some operation.
That's a wonderful point.
They get small quantities of it, thank God now, but they still get it. William from Lexington, what do you think, William?
Hello, William.
Hi. I love your program.
Thanks.
I've been
thank
a
you.
listener as long as I can remember.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I wanted to make the point that I think that the current situation is fundamentally unfair. I'm in favor, I'm a yes voter, and I think that a very small number of companies that are large companies have the say over a very large number of individuals who are reduced to dealing with the large companies one at a time. These people need collective bargaining in order to be able to have their rights protected. And right now, they're on their own, one by one. So if one of them gets fired for Lyft for some reason or Uber for some reason, and who can they talk to?
That is exactly
right. On the other hand, when companies get to be the size of Uber and Lyft, and they pay most of their attention to their bottom line, they end up sometimes with inadvertently creating unfair situations. And all of us have dealt with large companies these days and found that the automated response we get from them just isn't fair. And so I thought that the lady that you had on who represented the unions had extremely points. And so anyway, that's my point of view.
Let me just add one thing to William before a break. In terms of unionization, obviously people know how I feel about it because what I've done with part of my career. All it does is give workers collectively an equal voice at their workplace. It doesn't guarantee that they're going to get X or Y or that the workplace is going to change. That's what collective bargaining, at least fair collective bargaining, is all about. The overreaction on the part of the Amazons and the Starbucks is just because they don't want workers to have a say in what happens at their workplace, even though arguably those are the people who understand best what the deal is. We got to take a break.
We're in a dispute about question 6, Jim.
What is it?
Some people say it exists.
No, it is. What does? It does. No, you wanted to, it's yes or no.
In some locations.
Was Donald Trump the father of IVF? Which is what he said yesterday.
Quick pledge break. We'll be right back. You're listening to Boston Public Radio 89.7 GBH.
It's time to support Boston Public Radio on GBH. Listener contributions pay for the program and keep it on the air. You don't have to give much to make a difference, but please make a difference by giving now at gbhnews.org or by calling 888-897-9424.
I know this is only the second day we've ever streamed from Brighton, and there's some technical things we got to deal with. But can they see you now? Because if they can, you should put the damn hat on. Or hold up the earbuds, or do something.
Here's the earbuds
well,
right here.
No, show them to.
Case.
No, you got to do it.
Right
No.
Why don't you do it over
into
there?
the Zoom thing.
No, there's a camera right in front of me.
Okay.
That's This is a very organized organization.
I wouldn't fund this if I were you.
And there's the little earbuds inside with the little
good.
lights.
No one can see that. Perfect.
That's the camera that's on me.
Okay, but look at the Zoom screen. In any case, while Marjorie's figuring that out,
Zoom is not for people at home.
Okay, fine. Yes, it is actually.
It is?
I think. Well, I don't know if it is or not. 888. I mean, no. What is it? What's the number here? 888-897-9424. If you want to contribute, gbhnews.org. This is the last day of the drive. So if you haven't done something, do something now. If you said to yourself, "Well, I'll wait." Well, you can't wait anymore. Today is it. 7:00. The deal is over. If you can't afford $12.50 or not interested in the earbuds or the knit hat or whatever it is,
what do you think?
Then you give. Actually, you look really cute. What do you think? How do you think out there at home?
I'm in the wrong. I don't know where to look.
Oh, the donations just dropped. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Marjorie. Actually, look fabulous in that thing. What was my point? Oh, if you can't afford the $12.50 a month or $150, or you're not interested in those things, give what you can. Give $10 once. Give $1,000 once if you have it. Whatever it is, show you value the work that we and our wonderful colleagues do. Go to gbhnews.org or 888-897-9424.
I'm not sure, like I said, which camera we're in, but these are really adorable. A little white container, and they have the logo on it. 888-897-9424. gbhnews.org.
Welcome back to Boston Public Radio. Jim Browdy and Marjorie. And we're specifically talking about question 3 because that's the non-debate we had this morning because the no side is not showing up for these debates. That would allow the creation of a union, if they choose, for rideshare drivers. We'll also do the other questions. Someone is watching on YouTube and said, it's cool. I didn't know they had windows. They're not worth anything because we can't open them. So don't get all excited
great.
about it.
We look out on the New Balance warehouse store, factory store right across the street.
What's good about that?
Well, it's kind of neat.
Remember Charlie Baker was here and he saw the guys with shovels on the roof shoveling off the snow?
That was in 2015.
Was it?
Yes, when we had all the Snowmageddon.
Oh, Snowmageddon, that's right.
Palooza. And there were about 15 guys on top of the roof. Plus, you can get really discounted things across the street there.
Really?
Yeah, and we could watch the traffic.
That's great. That's pretty exciting. Let's go to David. Oh, one of our favorite towns in New Hampshire.
Hi, David.
Hancock, New Hampshire. Hey there, David. Welcome.
Hey, Jim. Hey, Marjorie.
How are you?
Good to talk to you.
You too.
Terrific. The model for the kind of union that we're talking about, a union for gig workers, is basically the Writers Guild of America or the Screen Actors Guild of America or those parts of IATSE who represent animation workers. All those people are gig to gig, job to job, and the union takes care of health insurance, takes care of pension, and you have to make a minimum amount of money every year on all your various gigs with signature companies, add it up all together. Be very simple to do it for rideshare drivers, and you could even fold in DoorDash people and anybody who comes under the general umbrella of that kind of work. And I'm in the Writers Guild. My wife is in SAG. I'm in the animation
Dave,
guild.
can I interrupt you for 1 second? Are you an employee of any company or any entity?
No, it's always job to job. So
Yeah, I have
for
to say
instance-
that my understanding was, obviously, I guess wrong, that there is no union of independent contractors because the National Labor Relations Act requires you be an employee. But I guess you're saying there's an exception. So continue. I'm sorry.
I think it may be because they're labeled as guilds as opposed to unions.
I see.
It's just another name for
I
a
don't
union,
know.
but
I
there
don't
might be some kind of semantic distinction or legal distinction.
Can I tell you,
I don't
David,
know.
we're not going to have time today, but by the time we go on the air with question 1 tomorrow, we'll get an answer to that question because that's a really important one. We're really glad you called and really glad you made the point. Thank you, David.
I just want to point out, apparently there is a question 6
What
in
is it?
Barnstable County about
A local question.
Yeah, how your tax dollars are spent. There's a question 6 in Winthrop. And there is a question 6 in Swampscott and in Medford. They have questions 6, 7, and 8.
Fabulous.
That is according to texters.
Well, actually, someone from New Bedford, I can't read the name, said there's a statewide question 6. Should daylight saving time be changed to daylight savings time? I'm not avoiding your name. My screen doesn't show your name. I'm sorry.
And there's
I can't say
question
it.
7, which apparently asks whether you'll get any fries in the box when Donald Trump is working at McDonald's.
Okay, here's the deal, by the way. Question 1 is
That's a
tomorrow
good
morning.
one.
That's the one that would allow the auditor, in this case, Diana DeZoglio, whoever the state auditor is, to audit the state legislature. All of the debates we've had, including today, which was only half of a debate because the other side didn't show up, are on gbhnews.org if you check them out, if you want to learn a little bit more about the questions before you vote. And by the way, early voting starts Saturday in Massachusetts. Marjorie knew that.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly.
I did. Okay.
Okay, she has more question 6
question
things. She's very amused
6
by this. Go
is
ahead.
an existential question. The full text of question 6 is, does question 6
Exist?
I would strongly
Okay, what's coming
encourage
up?
people to vote no.
Excuse me. Hello. What's coming up
Okay.
at 12?
What's coming up at 12 is Andrea Cabral, the
She
former
is.
sheriff of Suffolk County, the only politician in Massachusetts who answered honestly about the marijuana legalization. We have her here right after the noon news. You're listening to Boston Public Radio.
You count on GBH and NPR to be your window to the world. We count on your contributions to keep that window open. It is the last day of our fall membership drive, so please, if you have yet to give, make that contribution at gbhnews.org or by calling 888-897-9424. I'm Maeve Buckley, and I'm joined by Zach Finn.
And the fall membership drive draws to a close today. We are looking for 12 contributions in the next 7 minutes, and meeting that goal is going to help us close out this membership drive. It's also going to ensure that we have the money needed to pay for BPR in these months ahead. So please give maybe $10, $15 a month or more on the Sustainer plan and be one of those 12 people needed to give in these next 7 minutes. gbhnews.org or call 888-897-9424.
The election is fast approaching, and GBH has you covered. From the 5 statewide ballot initiatives to seats in the U.S. House and Senate, we will bring you reporting from the GBH newsroom, key interviews on Boston Public Radio, like we just heard earlier this hour, and impactful analysis on Morning Edition and All Things Considered. It's local news that keeps you in the know throughout this election season. So please make a gift of support by giving $5, $10, or $20 per month in support of all this coverage in the months ahead. 888-897-9424 or give online at gbhnews.org.
And when you make that gift of $12.50 a month, we're going to thank you with not one, but 2 very popular thank you gifts. Those are, of course, the GBH 89.7 knit hat and the wireless earbuds. This is a very special last day offer. The wireless earbuds, very comfortable, easy to use. They sound fantastic. The fleece line knit hat is a charcoal gray with the GBH 89.7 logo embroidered in black. So bundle up for the winter while listening to GBH and show you're a proud supporter of the station when you do it. Again, sign up as a sustaining member, $12.50 a month, and ask for the special last day offer here, the wireless earbuds and the knit hat. The deadline is 7 o'clock this evening when the drive comes to a close, so please give online at gbhnews.org or call 888-897-9424.
And as we've been talking about, it is the last day of our fall membership drive. You've probably been meaning to give. Maybe you even had your hand on the phone or your wallet, but then there was a distraction. Well, the time to give is almost gone. Please take just a couple of moments right now to support your listening in the months ahead. Call 888-897-9424 or give online at gbhnews.org.
And that's right. Giving really does take about just 2 minutes of your time. We just need your name and your contact information, which of course we keep private. You can sign up as a sustaining member with a recurring monthly payment from your bank account or your credit card. You can always make a one-time gift as well. 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org.
Okay, thank you so much if you've made your gift of support, helping us chip away at our goal, one of our final goals here of our fall membership drive. So important to hit these goals to stay on track for the membership drive. 8 contributions now is what we're looking for. 8 gifts in the next just about 4 minutes to wrap up this hour's goal. Meeting that goal helps us stay on track, and it ensures we have the money needed to pay for Boston Public Radio in the months ahead. So please give $10 or $15 a month or more on the Sustainer plan and be one of those 8 people we are looking to hear from in the next about 4 minutes. Call 888-897-9424 or give online at gbhnews.org.
Thousands of people support GBH, and in return, you tell us that you want to hear the news that matters. Now, to your contribution, that ensures that everyone in our community has access to those diverse voices and points of view. So please make that first ever contribution now and ensure that you have the information you need and the news that matters to you. Sign up as a new sustaining member at $5 or $10 a month. That gift, along with others, adds up to a public radio station that responds to you. gbhnews.org or 888-897-9424.
And we want to say thank you here on this final day of our fall membership drive with 2 of our most popular thank you gifts. When you support GBH by giving $12.50 per month as a sustaining member, we'd love to send you the GBH 89.7 knit hat and our wireless earbuds. Again, this is only available here on our final day of our fall membership drive. You can check out what they both look like when you make your gift online. That's at gbhnews.org, or ask for them when you make that call. 888-897-9424.
This is the last day of the fall membership drive. Right now, we're looking to receive 5 more contributions in the next few minutes to keep on track during this hour. So important to hit these goals hour by hour and overall. So please sign up as a sustaining member. You can always make a one-time gift too. The money you give right now is going to help fund the news in these months ahead. 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org.
Hey, thank you so much, Leo in Pelham, New Hampshire, for making your contribution. We also heard from Lorraine in West Roxbury and Mark in Melrose, who left a comment when he gave. He says, GBH is great. I love Jim and Marjorie. Their insightful questions to their guests provide a balanced perspective to this important issue. Thank you so much, Mark and Lorraine and Leo. You can join them. Help us reach our goal this hour by calling 888-897-9424 or making that gift online, gbhnews.org.
And again, when you make that gift, $12.50 a month, we're going to thank you with these 2 awesome gifts. You have the GBH 89.7 knit hat and the wireless earbuds. This is an offer only available today until 7 o'clock. Normally, you'd have to give $300 to get both, and you can do it for $12.50 a month today. Earbuds are white with the station logo on the charging case. Features that really nice LED screen with the battery display. So sign up as a sustaining member. Again, $12.50 a month, and ask for the special last day offer. Deadline is 7 o'clock. 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org.
All right. Thank you so much, Roberta in Marshfield, for making your contribution. We also heard from Jamie in Rutland. They are getting us that much closer to hitting this goal. We've got just 3 more people left to hear from. That's it. 3 more people in the next couple of minutes to wrap up this goal. Again, that keeps us on track to meet our overall goal for this fall membership drive. So if you have yet to make that gift, make that call right now. 888-897-9424. Again, that's 888-897-9424 or online gbhnews.org.
Funding for our programs comes from you and Atlantic Design Center by Eldridge Lumber and Hardware, committed to helping you achieve your vision for a new kitchen or bathroom and guiding you from design to completion, with showrooms in York and Portland, Maine. AtlanticDesignCTR.com. And the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum. Visitors can explore a range of family dynamics through works from Manet, Mickalene Thomas, and Mary Ellen Mark in 3 new exhibitions on view now. More at gardnermuseum.org.
Trusted, local, news. You're listening to 89.7 WGBH, HD1 Boston, online at gbhnews.org. GBH News with NPR. What matters to you.
I'm Jim Braude, head on Hour 2 of Boston Public Radio. Former Massachusetts Public Safety Secretary Andrea Cabral reacts to Harris's Fox News interview last night and Trump's claim to be the father of IVF. We'll also talk about
education issues facing the state later in the show.
Could determine the outcome of an extremely close race. Part of the battle to win the hearts and minds of voters is playing out in so-called blue wall states. NPR's Asma Khalid reports Vice President Harris is campaigning in states that have traditionally leaned Democratic, such as Pennsylvania, yesterday.
This latest swing involves 6 stops across Michigan and Wisconsin. Harris has events planned today in Milwaukee, La Crosse, and Green Bay. And in a sign of how close the current presidential race remains, on Friday, both Harris and her Republican opponent, former President Donald Trump, will be campaigning in Oakland County, Michigan. It's a suburban area outside Detroit. Trump is
The Israeli government says it's investigating whether one of the principal figures behind Hamas's mass attack on Israel over a year ago is now dead. In a statement today, the Israeli military disclosed that it's checking whether Yahya Sinwar was among 3 militants killed in a military operation in Gaza. An independent panel reviewing the U.S. Secret Service released its final report calling for immediate changes to the nation's top protection service. Here's NPR's Jimena Bustillo.
On July 13th, a shooter got through the security perimeter of an outdoor rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, and attempted to assassinate former President Donald Trump, resulting in an injury to Trump and 2 others and the death of a rally-goer. The panel's report pinpointed similar failures as those in other recent government and congressional reports. There was a lack of personnel guarding the roof from where the shooter perched, lack of communication between federal and local forces, and what the report's authors called a troubling lack of critical thinking. The panel recommends changes to how the Secret Service operates to clarify who is responsible when securing sites, to increase technology use, and to restructure the agency itself. Jimena Bustillo, NPR News, Washington.
Retail sales rose more than expected last month, and a sign U.S. consumers are still spending. Here's NPR's Scott Horsley.
Retail sales rose by 0.4% in September. People spent more money at restaurants and supermarkets last month and less money at the gas station. Spending on big-ticket items like furniture and electronics was down, while spending at car dealers was flat. Economists keep a close eye on the retail sales figure since consumer spending is the biggest driver of the U.S. economy. New applications for unemployment benefits dipped last week after a big jump the week before. The timing of applications may have been distorted by Hurricanes Milton and Helene. Scott Horsley, NPR News, Washington.
It's NPR.
Good afternoon. With the latest from the GBH Newsroom, I'm Henry Santoro. It was a packed house at a West Roxbury Community Center last night as people came to hear Boston Mayor Michelle Wu pitch her property tax shift proposal that's been sitting dormant on Beacon Hill. Over 100 people were in attendance, and a handful of residents took to the mic to ask questions or lodge complaints about the plan. Mayor Wu urged attendees to lobby their state lawmakers, but they should do so soon, she said, as property tax bills will start going out in late November. A report from the National Transportation Safety Board finds that the Green Line subway car that derailed at Lechmere Station 2 weeks ago was traveling 36 miles an hour in a 10-mile-an-hour zone. The Associated Press reports that not only was the train going 3 times faster than it should have been going, but it also ran a double red signal that requires the conductor to bring the train to a stop. The report also says the train reached a switch that was still moving that would direct the train to a different track, and that's when it went off the rails. Despite your agreements to acquit Karen Reed on 2 criminal charges, prosecutors are arguing that she's not eligible to make a double jeopardy claim ahead of her retrial because no verdict was returned and read in open court. The argument made by the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office in its filing to the Supreme Judicial Court comes as the SJC prepares to hear arguments on Reed's appeal on November 6th. Reed has asked the court to dismiss 2 of the 3 criminal charges he faces in the death of John O'Keefe, her Boston police officer boyfriend. It is 53 degrees in Boston. This is GBH News.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Fisher Investments. Fisher is committed to helping clients stay on track to reach their financial goals and enjoy a comfortable retirement. FisherInvestments.com. Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
Our programs are made possible thanks to you. And Willow Hill School on a 26-acre state-of-the-art campus in Sudbury, offering 6th through 12th graders embedded social, pragmatic, and executive functioning support in all classes and a range of extracurriculars. WillowHillSchool.org. And Boston Children's Hospital, ranked the #1 pediatric hospital in the world by Newsweek. Boston Children's, where the world comes for answers. bostonchildrens.org/answers.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Boston Public Radio. We are streaming live from Studio 3 in Brighton at youtube.com/GBH News. GBH and the New England Public Media will host a debate tonight at 7 o'clock, Channel 2, between Senator Elizabeth Warren and her GOP challenger, John Deaton. It should be a great one.
Be on the radio, too, obviously.
Be on the radio, too. That's right, TV and radio. And Jim and I will be back at the Boston Public Library tomorrow with comedian Jenny Slate. She's going to be zooming in, plus Gina McCarthy, who is the head of the EPA under Barack Obama. And we're also going to be joined by our Live Music Friday, Adam Ezra, local star from Live Music Friday.
Question 1, too.
Question 1, we got a big show tomorrow, really big show, Jen.
Thank you.
And later today, you're welcome. And later today, around 1 o'clock, Congressman Ayanna Pressley is going to zoom in as well.
One last thing, because Marjorie was being grossly unprofessional in the last segment, people are wondering, is there a question 6? So let's try to clarify this if we can. A number of communities have their own question 6. Roughly 20 districts across the state have a question 6 around single-payer health care. There is no statewide question 6. Let me repeat.
Did you hear?
Despite what? No, don't make this worse.
Said?
Oh my God, what is it?
A texter said, question 6 eliminates RSVPs and tickets to the Boston Public Library show. Thank you for that, texter.
There is no statewide question 6, and Marjorie apologizes profusely for the confusion.
But not in Boston, but some people will.
You don't know if there's one in Boston. You just know it's not statewide. I think I handled this. Okay.
All right.
Are we done with this now?
Did you handle it?
I don't know.
Okay, let's move on.
Okay, joining us now on Zoom is former Suffolk County Sheriff, former Secretary of Public Safety. That'd be Andrea Cabral. Hello, Andrea. How are you?
Hi, how are you?
How are you voting on question 6? Have you decided yet or not?
No, I haven't. I had made up my mind until Marjorie talked about it earlier today. So.
It's a tough one. We're all working our way through. Okay, to get back to the real world, Kamala Harris went on Fox News last night. She was interviewed by Bret Baier, who, if you're a fan or not a fan of Fox News, usually he's a little bit more temperate and down the middle of the road, but he was pretty tough last night, issuing all these statements that Donald Trump has made, and many of them not true, and asking her to respond to them. But I want to play you a clip. One of the things Harris talked about was Donald Trump repeatedly saying that about the enemy of within, people, American citizens being the enemies within, his political opponents being the enemies within, and his willingness to use the National Guard and even the military to go after these people. So Kamala Harris was talking about that. Then Bret Baier went ahead and played a different SOT. And here we have...
No, we don't have that SOT. What he played...
Different SOT.
No. This is not... He played Donald Trump commenting on... saying, I never said those things.
That's right. And that's what they played. They played this video of Trump denying he said what he said. And then here is Harris's response.
You and I both know that he has talked about turning the American military on the American people. He has talked about going after people who are engaged in peaceful protest. He has talked about locking people up because they disagree with him. This is a democracy.
So what'd you make of this whole thing, the interview last night on Fox?
Well, I think that, there's no question that Bret Baier did not sit down to do a good faith interview with Kamala Harris. Just the number of times he would ask her a question, she would begin to answer it, and he'd consistently talk over her. He either talked over her in order to minimize the possibility that anybody could actually hear or understand her answer, or he talked over her to make her angry, to get a reaction out of her, to make a better soundbite. But in any event, again, it was an audience of one through an audience of millions. Through the Fox audience generally, he was speaking to the audience of one, who was Trump. Either that or he was auditioning for some kind of position in a potential Trump administration. And, I'm old enough to remember, and I wouldn't have to be that old to be able to do that, when reporters genuinely cared about bringing information to the American public and asking the kinds of questions that were designed to elicit that information so people could kind of make up their minds about how they wanted to view the answer. You don't have to do that anymore if your audience is strictly and narrowly focused on a particular group of people, and you know that all you have to do is feed those people and validate their existing opinions. But Brett Baier should, at a minimum, be concerned with people watching other interviews that he has done, namely interviews with Donald Trump, but certainly interviews with virtually anybody else, where the contrast is so distinctly different that his agenda should shame and embarrass him in this interview. Because the bottom line is he is interviewing a potential president of the United States on an organization that tells people that it is a news organization. And he disgraced himself. That said, she handled him beautifully. She handled him, in much the same way I think that she handles Trump. But I will also say this. Fox News has a lot of female viewers. And even though they may be predisposed to a particular way of seeing things, it's hard to be a woman and watch him talk over her.
Amen.
And not have a reaction to it, not have a gut instinctual reaction to it, regardless of how you feel about Kamala Harris.
By the way,
he brings that too.
It's funny you say that because when you were done, I was going to say, I think she did a good job. And I think going there in and of itself is huge because hopefully there are a few people in America who know Donald Trump canceled the 60 Minutes interview. Yesterday canceled an NBC News interview. Will not go on anything except some sycophantic interview kind of thing. And I agree with you completely. Baier's behavior, I'm not sure if it's for Donald Trump. I'm sure Donald Trump says, I don't like Fox News anymore the other day because they're having Harris on. I'm sure the bosses said, you got to interrupt her constantly. You got to be the tough guy. It was an embarrassment. And I think just being there, the goal is not to win over a majority of the Fox News audience. The goal is to get some people, for example, who voted for Nikki Haley, who are uncomfortable with Donald Trump. And Brett Baier is being not only was he interrupting her constantly, he was essentially repeating all of Trump's talking points throughout the whole thing. It was really an embarrassment for a guy, and I agree with Marjorie, who generally, in my opinion, is one of the fairer, not fair, but fairer people, anchors from Fox News. So, in any case.
Meanwhile, the former president, I should say, was at this Fox News town hall with reporter Harris Faulkner Tuesday. Apparently, this was filled with women, but it was filled with women that were already Trump supporters. They were chosen for that reason. And then he's asked that someone in the audience, he's told someone in the audience has a question about IVF, and here is Trump responding to that question.
I want to talk about IVF. I'm the father.
You don't hear that every day.
I'm the father of IVF, so I want to hear this question.
What is he talking about?
It's bizarre because it's the big rallying cry from a lot of Republicans was life begins at conception. And if you believe life begins at conception, you really can't be a fan of IVF because those are little conceived embryos and those little petri dishes. So it's caught a lot of these anti-abortion Republicans by surprise. But anyway, what did you think of that, Andrea?
It's based, I think the same thing. I think about everything that he says. Everything says is a lie, but it still does kind of boggle the mind how people can continue to listen to this self-aggrandizement that he does. He's the father of IVF. So the man who put the Supreme Court justices on the court that overturned Roe versus Wade and put women's health and lives at risk, he's the protector of women. He's, the self-adjudicated, the civilly adjudicated rapist, the credibly accused, predator, sexual predator of women. He's going to make sure that women have nothing further to worry about. And the guy who set the stage for the Alabama Supreme Court to say that embryos are people is the father of IVF. I mean, you just literally have to suspend all disbelief and reason and common sense to believe anything that he says. that said, the fact that his town halls with answers like this, with the town hall that he shut down because 2 people fainted. People faint in Trump's audiences with alarming frequency for any one of a number of reasons, not the least of which is they stand and wait for hours for him to show up in places that are not air conditioned, that are very hot. So people fainting is not, it should not have been as big of a distraction as he seemed to have made it out to be. He shuts down a town hall and turns on music from a playlist and fails to take questions, which is the purpose of a town hall. If his behavior and his answers don't cause anyone with an ounce of reasonableness on the Republican side who's still considering voting for him to change their mind, then they must truly be Trump supporters, because there is not a single person, not just in this election, but in the history of the United States politics, who would be able to get away with the kind of lying, being convicted, a convicted felon, having the background of fraud and tax evasion that he has, the disaster of a presidency and an insurrection. No one else would ever be able to get away with this. So it's, like I said, it continues to boggle the mind that this could be a close election, let alone an election with this kind of candidate at all.
Did either of you read the Borowitz report this morning? Our friend Andy Borowitz.
JV did.
Here's the headline: Vance bops to music for 9 hours to prove he could assume Trump's duties. I don't know why I do this, because often when we go home,
he also said he loves staying at the YMCA.
He does. Yeah, he does. I watched last night. I went on YouTube and I watched. It was not the full 39 minutes. I decided to watch like a full 5 minutes of the quote dancing, swaying.
Yeah.
There's no way to describe.
Right.
There's no way to describe what that was and what was going on. It's just, and I would urge people, particularly people, well, anybody, but particularly people who are Trump fans or Trump leaning or Trump thinking, watch a little bit of that event the other night where, again, the town hall with questions after 5 questions became 39 minutes of Ave Maria and YMCA. It's worth your time before you go to the polling place.
Not only that, the playlist included several songs by artists whose estates or the artists themselves or the companies that represent them have told him, stop playing our music at your rallies. Like he's using stolen music to stand in front of the American people for 39 minutes and just kind of, bop and weave. And, he did the weave during his impromptu concert.
Before we take a break, can we just go back to the first thing I know you said she did a really good job, Harris, on Fox News. Obviously, some may disagree with that, but that's not relevant to what I'm about to ask. Well, maybe it is relevant. Did she gain anything from, was the point you were making around the interruption thing that helps with that constituency that may be movable? But on balance, was it worth being there for her?
Oh, I think so. I mean, I think, you can't make the argument that these candidates only go to friendly venues to have interviews. He does. She does not. But I also think that, if she's been very serious about saying she's going to be a president for everyone, that means you have to meet people where they are. And that's what she did. That was in all of the other interviews, the 60 Minutes interview, the Stephanie Ruhle interview, Charlemagne the God, Howard Stern, Jon Stewart, Stephen Colbert. Mm-hmm. You have to go where people are, and people come from all different backgrounds. They're all different ages, and you need to reach those audiences. And she's proving that she means what she says.
We're talking with Andrea Cabral, former sheriff of Suffolk County. We're going to keep talking to her after this quick pledge break. You are listening to Boston Public Radio 89.7, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
Live, local, 3 hours a day, 5 days a week. Jim Braude, Marjorie Egan, Boston Public Radio. It's here on GBH Radio because of your support. Now's your chance to keep the conversation going. Give online at gbhnews.org or call 888-897-9424.
Okay, I'm not sure what camera I'm on,
Look
but
at
whatever
you.
camera
This
I'm on.
is
I got the
great.
hat
I
on.
love-
I
looks
should probably
great.
take my glasses off.
Sure.
Yeah, I took my glasses off. That would
Looks
be better.
fabulous.
This is a hat. See that? It's a gray hat, little fleece on the inside, got the GBH logo. Good for when you're out walking, as it is getting to be cold outside. That's one of our gifts today for a $12 a month contribution to GBH. That makes you a sustaining member. That means you get the magazine and all that kind of stuff that we have. Do you call it the magazine? I think it's a monthly
Explorer,
magazine.
it's called, yeah.
Explorer, yeah. It's got a lot of great stuff in that. In
Do you
Explorer,
flip through when you get to see if we're in it? That's the first thing I do. Do you do that? Or
I always
too
flip through it
selfish?
just to see if we're there, but mostly we're not there.
Mostly we're not.
But nonetheless, but we don't have just one wonderful gift. We have a second wonderful gift, and that is the GBH earbuds. Here they are. I think the camera can see those.
don't know if
And
we
when you
can see
open,
Just dropped them. Sort of like how she lost them in the mulch.
That's right.
That was an incredible
when you
reenactment.
open them up, look at that. They're inside there. They're really
Yeah.
nice.
Could you drop them again so
No, I'm
people
not
could
gonna
see
drop
how you
them
dropped
again.
them?
Here they
Okay,
are.
Okay.
So it's pretty good. We got two pretty good gifts here because
We do. They're
earbuds
quite
are
good.
pretty
Yeah.
pretty expensive.
They are, sure.
But as Jim would always say,
What did I say?
you hope that you're not just giving us money because of the gifts. That it's because of what you hear on here. And we did have a great opportunity yesterday to talk to someone in outer space.
It's not outer
that-
space. I was wrong. I was
Okay,
corrected
inner
10,000
space.
times.
She's up in space.
She's in space.
She's in space.
It's up there.
Sunny Williams, who
Loved her.
has got a school named after her in Needham, an elementary school,
It's
and spent a
great.
lot of time in her
It's great.
childhood in Needham. And she's the astronaut that was supposed to be up in space for 8 days. Turns out it's 8 months. We got a chance to talk to her. This is the last day of pledge. If you have procrastinated, this is the last opportunity. If you want to get the great hat and the earbuds, they're going to be done at 7 o'clock tonight. 888-897-9424. gbhnews.org is the number.
Yeah, and today's, did you say this is the last day? Well, whether
Last
they say it or
day.
not, today's the last day. So for procrastinators, I am among you. Am I among you? Am I among procrastinators?
Yes, you are.
I'm
Yes, you
among
are.
them. I am a procrastinator too, and don't feel bad later if you were contemplating giving and didn't. Do it now, and then you don't have to feel bad at all. At 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org. And as we said 1,000 times, whatever you can afford, whatever you can afford. If you can only do $5 once, do it. It'll make you feel good. I know when Margie and I, we've said this before too, when Margie and I years and years and years ago, long before we worked here, gave money because we cared so much about NPR, it really feels good. You feel like you're part of the whole deal, and you can be, and we need you to be, because more than 70% of our money comes from listeners. Your support is the whole deal. $12.50 a month, $150 all at once, and you get this great combo, the knit hat that you looked great in a minute ago.
Thank you very much.
She'll wear the hat and the earbuds in the next pledge break. They're hi-fi stereo earbuds with logo and the whatever it is. And you go to gbhnews.org or 888-897-9424. It only takes a minute. If you have time to leave a little comment, like, for example, Philip in Brookline wrote, "I love the Marjorie show and the guests that she has on."
Thank you, Philip.
Thank you, Philip. I really appreciate it. 888-897-9424. Welcome back to Boston Public Radio. Jim Browdy and Marjorie Egan. We're at the library tomorrow with a whole host of things. Great band, former head of the EPA who worked for Barack Obama, Gina McCarthy. What else is there? Jenny Slate is zooming in. Brilliant comic.
Oh, she's great.
An author. She's got a new book, and there's something. Oh, question one, the debate will start tomorrow. It'll be our 5th of 5 ballot questions debate. But right now, we're continuing our conversation with the former Secretary of Public Safety for Massachusetts, Andrea Cabral.
So Andrea Cabral, the Globe is reporting today that not only is there going to be a Netflix movie on the Karen Reed case, there's going to be a 2020 news look at the case, and it's going to feature our colleague Sue O'Connell.
One of them
our
is,
media
yeah,
maven,
yeah.
is going to be discussing the Karen Reed case, which she covered from beginning to end. Karen Reed case, people may know, is the woman who was accused of running over her Boston police officer boyfriend and leaving him in the snow to die. There was a mistrial declared in her case. The ACLU is joining with Karen Reed, appealing to the SJC of Massachusetts, saying that the mistrial was declared too quickly. What do you make of this, Andrea? You're an attorney.
Well, I haven't, with the caveat that I haven't read the briefs filed on either side. I will say this. First, I think it is unlikely, very unlikely, that the SJC will say that Karen White has been acquitted, in part because I believe that a verdict is rendered inside of a courtroom. That's the state of the law that we have right now. That's the only place that a jury can render that verdict, and they didn't do that in this case. And she was not, the judge, Judge Cannoni was not obligated to inquire further about the verdict that they delivered. She could have, but she was not obligated to. But I'll also say this. I mean, I love the ACLU for a lot of reasons, and this is one of them. The brief that they filed is not, I don't believe, is as much sort of a full-throated endorsement saying that Karen Reed was acquitted by this jury, as much as it is a true friend of the court brief saying, listen, you've got a problem here. You've got you now have a situation where you have jurors saying that they came to an agreement in the jury room but did not deliver this verdict. And you have no way of really discerning that without delving into jury deliberations, which was precisely what Judge Cannoni was afraid of doing, which is probably the reason why she didn't inquire. You should not want this situation to repeat itself. So it needs to be corrected. I think that's why they're making the argument that they're making. It's a cautionary brief, and it has to come down on really sort of on one side or the other. And it's sort of saying, if you find that, the jury came to some kind of agreement, then you probably do have to say that she was acquitted. And then, that is going to create more problems. What they're really saying is you need to put something in place, even if it's a jury instruction that makes it very clear to the jury, the only verdict you can render is the one that you deliver in the courtroom. If you come to an agreement on a charge, you must make that clear on the verdict slip and announce it as part of your verdict. That's how you cure a situation like this without causing judges to delve too deeply into jury deliberations, which they ought not to do.
Well, let me just say, I don't know if I'm saying something different from you, but first of all, the claim, if it wasn't clear, is Reed's lawyers and the ACLU are suggesting it's double jeopardy because she's already been acquitted, had the jurors' unanimous conclusion on 2 of the counts been public. I think at minimum what should come out of this going forward, I won't weigh in on the Karen Reed thing because I don't know enough, is why doesn't the judge in every case where there's more than one count ask not, have you reached a verdict on all counts? Have you reached a verdict on any counts?
And we should say...
And then say on which ones... And find that. Why shouldn't that be the...
What we should say to make clear to people, what the several jurors told both the prosecuting and defense team is that they were only deadlocked on one charge, manslaughter by operating under the influence. The jurors said they'd all agreed she was not guilty of murder or leaving the scene of a crash with an injury.
We only have 30 seconds, but would you not agree with me that they should poll the juror on every single charge before them, shouldn't they?
Well, it depends on... I don't know if that's wieldy, depending on how many charges are before a jury. But I think the basic suggestion you make about how to cure it, I think there are ways to cure it. I think your point is well taken. I think you could cure it by making it very clear to jurors in jury instructions. But also the problem, Margie, when you said jurors agreed, not every juror has said this. Certain jurors, some directly, some through third parties, have made their opinion of what the jury. That's the issue, that's the delving into jury instructions. You bring people back after they've left the jury room or they have time to reflect, may change their mind about what they said or did in that jury room. That's the issue. And the ACLU is basically saying, figure out a way to cure this going forward so this doesn't happen again.
Andrea, it's good to see you. When you decide how you're voting on question 6, text us, will you please? I knew you would.
Don't
Thank
forget,
you very much.
7 and 8.
Exactly.
We have a lot of questions out there.
Okay, fine.
We're only doing 5 debates.
See you soon.
Thank
Bye.
you very much, Andrea Cabral. We're talking with former Sheriff Andrea Cabral. The conversation, actually, it doesn't continue. We are moving on because up next, we're going to be joined after a quick break by Massachusetts Education Secretary Patrick Tutwiler. He is going to join us for his first time ever at Boston Public Radio. Don't go away. You are listening to us, and we are streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
If you listen to Boston Public Radio 3 hours a day, that's 15 hours a week, 60 hours a month, and 720 hours a year. Maybe it's time you pitched in. Call 888-897-9424 or give online at gbhnews.org.
It's the last day of the fall GBH membership drive, and that means we will not be asking you to contribute or be a sustaining member or anything for many, many weeks now. We only do these drives a few times a year because we are listener supported, and we need your support to put this operation together. More than 70% of our money comes from small donations from listeners like you. And the reason we do these things is because we don't have commercials. And if we did, they would be 5 and 6 and 7 minutes long, 3 times an hour. That's the way commercial radio usually works. So think of all we're saving you by doing these occasional pledge drives. And as a thanks and a special enticement today, if you've been procrastinating or if you would like to up the ante of what you're giving, we have these 2 wonderful gifts today, as I mentioned before, the GBH Hi-Fi stereo earbuds and the knit hat with our logo. It's a gray hat, nice fleece line with the logo on the front. You fold it over the top. It's very warm. What are you laughing at?
Just keep going. Go ahead.
Okay, and that's only available till 7 o'clock tonight when the drive ends for the entire fall season. So 888-897-9424 is the number. gbhnews.org is the website where you can give securely.
I would like to quote you quoting me. Is that okay?
Sure.
The gifts are great today, enticements as Marjorie calls them, but that's not why. Hopefully,
that's not why.
You're just no. You already said that. I said that. You said that. Whatever. That hopefully isn't why you're doing this. You're doing it because you listen in the morning, you listen at the end of the day. Hopefully, listen to us in the middle. Listen to Jared's show, the culture show after us, and you say, "This is making my life better. I'm learning things. I'm being entertained. I'm glad they're there." And if any of those things is true, then right now, because you're going to forget otherwise, call 888-897-9424. gbhnews.org. In a minute, we're going to have the Secretary of Education on.
Yes.
We haven't had him on before.
Nope.
That's great value, I think, to you. Everybody cares about public schools. We had the governor yesterday, the attorney general the day before, 5 debates this week. An astronaut zoomed in from the International Space Station. The former head of the EPA under Barack Obama, Gina McCarthy, tomorrow. Jenny Slate, great comedian, SNL alum. I mean, what more do you want? I mean, 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org, and give whatever you can.
We do apologize for missing questions 6, 7, and 8.
No, we don't. Don't do this anymore. Don't do it. We didn't miss anything.
Apparently, they're on the ballot in other places.
Some
but,
places.
But they're
some
not
places,
on the ballot statewide. So we were unaware of those questions, Jim. Shame on us. But anyway, we had the all 4 we've done already, and the 5th one we're going to do tomorrow about auditing the legislature. 888-897-9424 or gbhnews.org. Welcome back to Boston Public Radio, 89.7 GBH. We are broadcasting live from our studio in Brighton, and we are Zooming. You can Zoom at us at Jeep. What is the
Not
thing?
at us.
Okay.
We are Zooming.
We are Zooming at
youtube.com/GBH News. In about a half hour, we're going to be joined by Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley. Tomorrow, as I said, Jenny Slate, Gina McCarthy, the debate on question 1. But we're joined now for the first time, and actually a lot of people, including people in high places, have said, "Why have you not had this guy on?" I don't know why. We'll decide in 20 minutes whether we made a mistake or not. He is the Secretary of Education from Massachusetts, Patrick Tutwiler. We're thrilled to have you, Secretary. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Great to meet
we are
you.
thrilled to have you. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Pleasure's
Sorry I was
mine.
so discombobulated there.
No problem.
But we're doing debates every day on the 5 ballot questions, and I think Tuesday we did, was it yesterday? I don't know when we did question 2, which is about the MCAS required to be. You have to pass the MCAS to graduate from high school. It's a requirement. And I know you have written about this, so you're the big boss. What do you think?
I think that it is the wrong thing for Massachusetts. I think it's the wrong thing for Massachusetts students and families. Would you like for me to tell you why?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I think you've heard this before. The boss was on yesterday,
yes,
Governor
she was.
Healy, and we come at this from a perspective of embracing that Massachusetts has the best public schools in the country, and in fact, even some international recognition. We got to this place not through serendipity or happenstance. We got to this place by the incredible work that our extraordinary teachers do with and for students and families each and every day. I have 3 kids. All of them have gone through the public schools. 1 is there right now. But also through the state resources and a system of assessment and accountability. All of those factors together brought us to a place of real national prominence, and we think that this question seeks to take away a really important piece of that success, and we are adamantly opposed to it. I would also say that We believe deeply in a uniform standard for high school graduation. That means it doesn't matter whether you're graduating from high school from the high school where I used to be principal right down the street, Brighton High School, or from Andover High School where my kids go to school right now. We believe that there should be a uniform standard. Their piece of paper that they get when they cross that stage should mean the same thing. The question will deliver us to a place where we cannot confidently say that will be the case. It'll also put us in company with about 2 states nationally that have no uniform standard for a high school graduation.
But my understanding, Secretary, is the majority of states use course requirements as their graduation standard. A minority do what we do, have a high-stakes test, you pass or you don't graduate. And my concern is if people vote yes on question 1, which they very well may do, we're not in a position that we can depend upon course requirements because there is such fear on the state level of mandating anything other than gym and what is it, a civics thing. Shouldn't we be moving in that direction?
That's the mass core.
Exactly. Even if whether the graduation requirement is undone or not, shouldn't we have a broader set of standard? Oh, you're nodding. You take it away. Go ahead.
Well, the first thing, we're just meeting for the first day, for the first time, and I want to correct something that you said.
Well, then you'll never be back, but feel free to do whatever the hell you want. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, the reality is that 34 states require some assessment, or some assessment is tied to graduation. 34 states.
But not a high-stakes test. Course requirement things.
No. High stakes, meaning if you don't pass this test, you will not earn a diploma in this state. 34 states that is the case.
For whatever it's worth, all I'm just saying is the Tufts, you know more about this than I, but I'm not quoting myself. The Tufts Center on whatever it's called.
Very familiar.
Evan Horowitz.
Yes.
Says most states base their graduation standards on course requirements rather than test scores. He's wrong?
No, he's not wrong. Some do both, right? Okay. Some might have a course sequence requirement in addition to a state test. So, for example, Maryland, which I do consider a peer academically, does have a course sequence requirement in addition to students must pass a state-sponsored end-of-course assessment in grade 9 in algebra and in English, and then once again in the science course.
Okay, so let's agree on that. But shouldn't we have more state-mandated course requirements so there is uniformity on that front too?
So here's what I would say, and this is part of the reason why we're opposed to, and I think the governor lifted this up yesterday, the ballot question approach to change in education. Old truism in education, if you're going to engage in a change initiative in education, it has to be brought about through a thoughtful process. When it's the result of an event, much like a ballot question presents, there's often consequences. We are very open to sitting down and building a big table with lots of stakeholders at it to sort of decide what does a high school diploma mean in Massachusetts? What are the courses students need to take? The ballot question doesn't provide us that opportunity. It simply dismantles what we have now, which has worked and has been very successful for 20 plus years.
You know, with all due respect, one of the problems, though, with waiting for the deliberate approach, we used to have a guy in here, David Driscoll. I don't know if you remember.
Of course.
Okay, David Driscoll was the commissioner.
Yeah.
And he would say the school schedule, for the daily schedule, was established when we were an agricultural society. And it is not, I'm quoting him, and has not changed in 100 years. And I'm not saying yes or no on this question. You have your position.
Sure.
But in part, it's frustration with the fact that the legislature is a very slow-moving body and that the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education is reluctant to mandate anything on individual districts. Is that not a fair statement?
Well, all I can say is I've been in this role for 20 months, and our mindset in partnership with Governor Healy is that we are open to that conversation.
We're talking to Secretary Patrick Tutwiler, Secretary of Education in Massachusetts.
You know, when we were talking with our listeners about this yesterday, we had several people call or text, and they were concerned because they have special ed kids. I'm going to play a little sound from one of them who was a special ed kid herself.
We don't have that sound. You have to describe what she said. No, Megan.
Okay, so she was one of the first kids that went through MCAS back in the day, special ed kid, and she was saying that the knowledge that kids can take the MCAS again. Now, supposedly they can take the MCAS Okay.
5 times.
Okay, 5 times. 4 in high school, then once after. Is that how it works?
Nope. There are retests.
Retests 4
yeah,
times. Okay,
that's
so they
right.
take it the first time that they fail, they get 4 times. And even though she's disputing this, but they get help and tutoring so they can pass the test eventually. Well, she said there was a lack of resources, especially for underprivileged kids. She grew up in Wellesley. Her dad was a psychologist. She was able to get Megan into special ed classes because he pushed for those. I know that's true. Sometimes you do have to push hard for special ed kids. But my question is basically, and she says that they don't emphasize enough the fact that you can take that test over and over again. So first question, is it true that you don't have to go out and find out yourself that you can take this test over and over again? That's number one. And number two, what kind of accommodations are made for kids who have ADHD or some other more significant kind of learning disability?
Yeah, really appreciate that question because there's a lot of misinformation out there about what this scenario means and what's actually available, which again is why it's not a great idea that's on a ballot question. So every high school student has 5 opportunities during their high school career to pass the MCAS. If a student is unsuccessful on one of the 3 assessments, English, math, or either physics or biology, the schools are deeply, deeply committed to facilitating success for students getting over that hump,
right?
Because they want them to graduate. And so that comes in lots of different forms. Sometimes it's summer programming. Sometimes it's additional after-school programs. There's a lot of support for students to support getting them over this, to help them be successful. If you are a student with a disability, I will say that the test has evolved a lot. It's now taken on a computer. A lot of the accommodations are built in and specified and tailored to that student, whether it's a read aloud, whether it's additional time, whether it's an additional adult supporting that student, facilitating the test. All of those are available for students with disability. And I would say when you look at students who have met all of their local requirements, the pass rate for MCAS is through the roof. We're talking, as I think I heard you say yesterday, 99% of students get to that important milestone in high school.
We got to take a break. I just want to clarify something. You were shaking your head in agreement when I said there should be more curriculum mandates on the state level so there's more uniformity. Briefly, do you agree with that?
What I would say is that we are open to a discussion around what course sequence we would entertain for high school students as a graduation requirement.
Fair enough. We got to take a break.
Okay, we are talking to the Massachusetts Education Secretary, Patrick Tutwiler. We're going to keep talking to him after this quick break. You're listening to Boston Public Radio 89.7, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
It's time to support Boston Public Radio on GBH. Listener contributions pay for the program and keep it on the air. You don't have to give much to make a difference, but please make a difference by giving now at gbhnews.org or by calling 888-897-9424.
Okay, this is the last day of pledge. As I've said before, this is the last day you're going to have to listen to us, trying to convince you to give us some money here. It's over for us at 2 o'clock today. It's over for everybody else at 7 o'clock today. However, if you want to get
if you don't give, it's really over for us.
It's really over, that's right. One of us may not be back tomorrow. We don't want to say which one of us that is. But in any case, we have these great gifts today. We have this felt hat with the GBH logo on it. It's got it's nice gray. It's very attractive, Jim. And we have these wonderful earbuds with the GBH logo on them. That's for $12.50 a month, which is easier on your wallet. You can pay for the whole bunch at one time, but it's much easier on your wallet if you do $12.50 a month. Several of you have left nice remarks when you donated. Cheryl from Wellesley says she listens to us every day. We thank you very much for that. Lauren from Winchester listens every day to Morning Edition and us, and she also listens afterwards to the other programming that is here. And we are on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, so it's a lot of programming, and we depend on your generosity to keep this programming on the air. I don't have the numbers in front of me.
I'll tell you what they are.
888-888-897-9424, gbhnews.org.
One more time, it's the last day. That's the good news. The bad news is if you forget to give or you get busy doing something else, so take a minute now. This is a really quick process. We've done it ourselves. Just do it now. gbhnews.org, 888-897-9424. Contribute whatever you can. And if you have a minute afterwards, to just write a brief note about what you like about the station. It means a lot to us. And I know I'm speaking for every person who works here on camera, on air, or behind the scenes. We really appreciate whatever you do.
Think about it.
Welcome back to Boston Public Radio. Jim Browdy, Marge Regan. We're speaking with the Secretary of Education from Massachusetts, Patrick Tutwiler.
You know, we were talking before about state mandates, Mass Core. Apparently about half the schools don't do it. That's the basic, you know, how many years you need of algebra and English and all that kind of stuff to graduate. That's distressing that only half the schools do it. But the thing that is really distressing is this reporting on third grade literacy, that the MCAS in third grade found that believe it's about 40% of third graders are reading where they should be, only about that many. But that many of those children are using, or their teachers are using, a low quality reading program. And Governor Healey's put $20 million toward fixing that. Mm-hmm. But still, once again, it's why would we be spending all these years with a low reading program? And Max Page of the MTA was not really in favor of getting rid of that low reading program, which I don't think he likes mandates.
Well, you'd have to talk to him about his opinion on it. But what I would say is that the research overwhelmingly agrees that there is a strategy that is phonics-based, now called the science of reading, that works for all students. And we've gotten away from that and entertained other strategies that have been debunked, determined to be not as effective. And we are thrilled under Governor Healey's leadership to launch Literacy Launch, which is the first of a 5-year effort to transform literacy instruction in Massachusetts. First year, $20 million. We're really appreciative of the legislature's support in moving this forward. And, I think the field is also excited. Few things that $20 million does, if I may. One, creates an opportunity for broad-based professional development across the state for educators in grades pre-K through 3. It forces our schools of education to train aspiring educators in the evidence-based strategies. And finally, the third piece, which is escaping me at the moment. Grants to district. The most important point that I actually benefited from when I was a superintendent in Lynn, building on the success of growing literacy equity across Massachusetts, we will provide grants to districts to help them purchase high-quality instructional materials and build systems to improve their literacy outcomes.
But will they all have to do it, or is it an individual town, city decision?
Right now, it is an opt-in program,
Okay.
but the excitement around this is palpable. We think that this is really going to have deep impact.
Secretary Tutwiler, you mentioned a minute ago you thanked the legislature for that appropriation. Do you think their 5-month vacation is long enough? Do you, or do you think they should? No, we're not going to do that. Okay. Can we talk about higher education? Everybody
Certainly.
knows about the affirmative action decision, the anti-affirmative action decision from the Supreme Court of the United States. We've talked ad nauseum to people in higher ed and people who care about higher ed about how to, while not violating the Constitution, ensure there is diversity at higher ed, which almost every sane person thinks matters. What was amazing, and we want to ask about the program that you and the governor are working on to promote diversity in Massachusetts colleges. We went down a list a couple of weeks ago. It was Harvard, MIT, Amherst College, where the percentage of kids of color in the freshman class went down, in some cases precipitously. And then I just read this morning that the numbers went up in terms of diversity at UMass Amherst. So there are two questions. One, what did they do differently, if anything? And two, what are you and the governor doing to ensure that we don't lose diversity in higher ed?
Mm-hmm. So first, I just want to center that this is a core value that this administration really, really believes in, and that is access to higher education for all students, but particularly those who have historically been underrepresented. And so ahead of the Supreme Court decision, the governor convened an advisory council that to begin to think about how do we ensure that in Massachusetts we can live this core value of ours and ensure that what has happened in other states, California, Washington, Texas, who moved to remove affirmative action from admissions decisions before the Supreme Court decision, how do we make sure that what happened there doesn't happen here in terms of the declines? And so we've been at it, working hard over the course of the past year to develop a set of recommendations didn't wait for the recommendations. We've already made some significant investments in higher ed, which I'm happy to speak to. But substantively, this set of recommendations, which we celebrated the release of yesterday out in Westfield, makes five really sort of important shifts in Massachusetts. Stronger outreach and support in the K-12 space. That's inclusive of early college, partnering with school counselors, better financial aid and supports removing that financial barrier for students, all students, but particularly those historically underrepresented. Really taking a close look at the admissions processes and policies at all of our institutions of higher ed and so on. Also making sure that we're re-engaging adults. You've seen that through Mass Educate and Mass Reconnect before at Free Community College in Massachusetts. How do we engage them in the higher education process? And so,
how did UMass buck the trend?
Big celebration for them. UMass Amherst is celebrating the most diverse class in their history. They credit a lot of it to outreach, really making sure that they're in high schools, making sure the students know about the opportunities available to them.
You know better than I that one of the people who admits he benefited from affirmative action is hell-bent on killing any affirmative action, Clarence Thomas. And one of the few things that my understanding, I think in dissent, I'm not sure, that Clarence Thomas said he was okay with is I think the Texas plan that says is that the top 10 graduates from every high school in Texas he believes is not constitutionally violative. Are you thinking at the same time that you're doing more outreach, what things will not run afoul of the Supreme Court? You're nodding yes?
Yes. All of the recommendations we make in this report are within the law, perfectly permissible. Some of them draw from the experiences of other states, things that have been successful, things that we think can be successful that haven't worked necessarily in other states. I should name Clarence Thomas and I share the same alma mater.
Holy Cross?
Holy Cross.
Sorry to hear that. Go ahead.
It's a great school.
I didn't mean Holy Cross is great. I wasn't talking about Holy Cross.
Great school. And fundamentally, we deeply disagree with him on his position that he's taken on affirmative action.
You know, this is the first time we met you, and we hope you come back soon. I know you. What's the thing that is your major focus in your? You've only been doing this for a little less than 2 years. What's number one on not a rhetorical goal, a concrete, substantive thing that you're working on that's most important to you?
Well, so remember that I am responsible for early education and care, K-12, and higher ed. I would say if I were to lift up one thing that we've got to get right away, that's getting kids back to school. Yeah. The chronic absenteeism rates still remain deeply concerning. 19% last year, which means 19% of kids across Massachusetts are missing 18 or more days.
That's incredible.
We're not going to see the kinds of improvements in education unless kids are attending regularly.
Is that about the pandemic or something else?
It is. That rate, that 19%, is 6 or 7% higher than what we saw pre-pandemic. I would say it is the residual impact of the pandemic for sure.
One last thing. We only have a minute and a half left, and so apologies in advance. We try to talk as much as we can, but not nearly enough about vocational education.
Yeah.
We get so many emails and texts from parents and kids who say this changed their lives, etc. The demand, which I guess is a good thing in some ways, far exceeds the supply. What's happening on that front, Secretary?
So I completely agree with you, and we're actually excited that students are looking for that kind of experience for high school. We see it as being one of two things. One, students appreciate the relevance of that kind of education, seeing the connection between what they learn during the day and a career that they're interested in. I think we can replicate that substantively in our comprehensive high schools. We've done so through the innovation career pathways, biotech, advanced manufacturing, clean energy. Nearly 30% of high schools in Massachusetts have implemented an innovation career pathway. That's one way. The After Dark programming, which allows students who attend a regular traditional comprehensive high school to gain after-school access to learning a trade. And then finally, the state has partnered closely with our career tech ed schools to expand their space, their footprint, most recently at Neshoba, which allows for more students to attend.
Great. It's really good to meet you. I hope you come back soon.
I'm allowed back?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we'll see. We're going to talk about it. Because you did say Margie's question was great and I was wrong.
Oh,
We'll
there you
discuss
go.
it.
That could be a problem.
Really good
Okay.
to meet you, Secretary.
Likewise.
Thanks
We
so
have been
much.
speaking with Massachusetts Education Secretary Patrick Tutwiler. Coming up after the pledge, and we thank him very much for his time. After pledge and the new news, Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley zooms in. You're listening to Boston Public Radio, 89.7 GBH, live on youtube.com/GBH News.
The GBH Fall membership drive is ending soon, so please help pay for your listening in the months ahead by making a contribution right now. All gifts are welcome at gbhnews.org or by calling 888-897-9424. I'm Maeve Buckley, and I'm joined by Zach Finn.
And this is it. This is the last day of the fall membership drive, and we're looking for 13 people to give to GBH in about the next 5 minutes and help us close this out strong. How about giving $10 or $15 or maybe $1 a day? Please help keep the news source you trust on the radio by giving right now. We got 5 minutes to get 13 more contributions. gbhnews.org or call 888-897-9424.
There is a lot at stake in Massachusetts this election season. You can count on GBH to keep you informed with fact-based reporting and healthy debates about the issues. Tonight, when the drive ends at 7, GBH News co-hosts the Massachusetts U.S. Senate debate between Senator Elizabeth Warren and her challenger, John Deaton. You can hear all that here on 89.7 or watch it on GBH2. All week, we've been hosting mini debates on Boston Public Radio on each of the 5 statewide ballot initiatives on your ballots. Election coverage of this quality is only possible when the people who value it help to pay for it. So please make your contribution now by calling 888-897-9424 or give online at gbhnews.org.
And when you make that gift of support at $12.50 a month, we're going to thank you with 2 popular gifts. Those are, of course, the 89.7 GBH 89.7 knit hat and the wireless earbuds. This is a very special last day offer that we have here. The wireless earbuds, super comfortable, easy to use. They sound fantastic. And the fleece line knit hat is charcoal gray with the GBH 89.7 logo embroidered in black. So bundle up this winter while you're listening to GBH and show that you're a proud supporter of the station when you do it. Sign up as a sustaining member. Again, $12.50 a month, and ask for this special last day offer of the wireless earbuds and the knit hat. Deadline is coming up at 7 o'clock when the drive ends. Please give online at gbhnews.org or call 888-897-9424.
And giving takes just a couple of minutes of your time. We just need your name and contact information, which we keep private. You can sign up as a sustaining member with a recurring monthly payment from your bank account or credit card, or you can make a one-time gift as well. But whichever you choose, it is so easy to do, and it makes a world of difference. Call 888-897-9424. Again, that's 888-897-9424, or give online at gbhnews.org.
And the membership drive is almost over. It wraps up tonight, and you've probably been meaning to make that contribution, but you just haven't got around to it, right? Well, now this is your chance to get it done. Just takes 2 minutes to give, and when you do that, you're going to feel great about doing your part to keep GBH on the radio in Boston. Any and all gifts are welcome at gbhnews.org or 888-897-9424.
Well, this is great. We're down to just 7 more people we are looking to hear from. Thank you so much if that's you on the phone. If you have yet to make your gift of support, it is the final day, and we are in the final hours of our fall membership drive. So hitting every goal, so important to wrap up the drive successfully this evening. 888-897-9424. Be one of the 7 people we're looking to hear from in the next couple of minutes to wrap up this hour with success. You can also give online at gbhnews.org.
GBH is a nonprofit public radio station, and you could tell because of the high quality of stories that you hear each and every day, and you could tell because of the stories and perspectives about our region and the world, and you can also tell because you're listening to a membership drive right now. We are wrapping up, and we need that support, so support GBH right now, and that makes, frankly, such a difference in your life. 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org.
And you can ask for our wireless earbuds and knit hat as our thanks for your contribution of just $12.50 per month as a sustaining member, or a one-time gift of $150 all at once. You can check out what they both look like when you make that gift online at gbhnews.org. You'll be helping us reach our goal this hour in these last couple minutes of this hour, and we'll be sending you both these thank you gifts as our thanks. 888-897-9424.
Support for GBH comes from you and the Office of the Massachusetts State Treasurer. The Unclaimed Property Division is holding unclaimed funds from medical bills, uncashed paychecks, savings accounts, and more. To see if you have unclaimed money, you can visit findmassmoney.gov. And Mass General Brigham Health Plan with Medicare Advantage plans featuring a new flexible benefits card to cover fitness and weight loss programs, healthcare transportation, and over-the-counter healthcare needs. mgbadvantage.org.
I'm Deputy Investigative Editor Jennifer McKim, and you and I are listening to 89.7 WGBH HD1 Boston, online at gbhnews.org. GBH News with NPR. What matters to you?
He speaks German too, and finally tells them all off in German. So who's the jerk? The Germans for being snooty, or the wife for being sneaky? All that ahead. Boston Public Radio, 89.7 GBH.
Live from NPR News, I'm Lakshmi Singh. The Foreign Minister of Israel confirms Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar is dead. He was among 3 militants killed in an Israeli military operation in North Carolina. But remote areas of the state are still recovering from destructive floods, power outages, and lack of clean running water 3 weeks after Hurricane Helene. Burnsville resident Russ Robeson tells CNN it's going to be difficult for people in the hardest hit areas to get out to vote.
There are several people that lost all their vehicles. They can't get transportation. They don't have transportation at their fingertips to go and vote either early or at their precinct, and we don't know exactly where those are going to be because some of those locations are gone. Fire departments along the river here are gone.
The State Board of Elections says that despite the devastation, the vast majority of polling sites in the hardest hit portions of western North Carolina are open. North Carolina is pivotal to the election. Both campaigns will have high-profile allies in the state today, such as Democratic former President Bill Clinton and Republican South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem. Both campaigns are trying to shore up support in constituencies where they may be vulnerable. NPR's Frank Ordonez reports on Trump's town hall appearance.
In some key swing states, especially Nevada, where they make up nearly 1 in 5 voters, and Arizona, where they make up roughly 1 in 4. Both Trump and his rival, Vice President Harris, have been courting the Latino vote. Franco Ordonez, NPR News.
Vice President Harris is campaigning in blue wall states, trying to avoid a repeat of 2016 when then-nominee Hillary Clinton suffered a stunning loss to Republican Donald Trump in Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. Harris is campaigning today in Wisconsin, tomorrow in Michigan. Yesterday, she was in Pennsylvania. The Dow Jones Industrial Average is up 185 points at 43,262. You're listening to NPR News.
Good afternoon. With the latest from the GBH Newsroom, I'm Henry Santoro. In-person early voting begins this weekend in Massachusetts. GBH's Mark Hers has more.
Starting Saturday, if you're registered to vote, you can skip the Election Day lines at your polling location and vote early in person. That's, of course, assuming you haven't already sent a mail-in ballot. Around 280,000 voters in the state have done that so far. You can find out the early voting schedule and locations for your city or town at voteinma.com. In Boston, I'm Mark Hers, GBH News 89.7.
Barnstable, Brewster, Falmouth, and Yarmouth are among 16 communities statewide to receive funds to assist with shoreline management. The funds will be used for projects to help prepare for and respond to more frequent storms, flooding, erosion, and sea level rise. Barnstable received $90,000 for the Sandy Neck Coastal Resilience Project, which will relocate a parking area and restore dunes to preserve recreational access. Brewster will use more than $2 million to continue its partnership with Dennis and Orleans to advance a regional shoreline management strategy for their shared 14-mile stretch of the Cape Cod Bay coastline. And Falmouth received $153,000 to evaluate beach and dune nourishment designs under storm conditions for the Surf Drive area. And Yarmouth's grant of $250,000 will advance the design and permitting for improvements to the Packet Landing Marina to reduce sea level rise impacts and preserve public access. 55 degrees in Boston. This is GBH News.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Indeed, designed to be an end-to-end hiring solution for businesses of all sizes to attract, interview, and hire candidates, all from one platform. Learn more at Indeed.com/NPR.
Steve Browdy, I am Marjorie Egan. Welcome to hour number 3 of Boston Public Radio, broadcasting live from Studio 3 in Brighton. And we are now streaming here on YouTube or at youtube.com/GBH News. I want to mention GBH and New England Public Media are going to host a debate tonight at 7 between Senator Warren and her GOP challenger, John Deaton. You can see it at Channel 2 at 7 o'clock, or you can hear it here on 89.7 on the radio. And Gina McCarthy, who ran the EPA for Barack Obama, is going to be with us tomorrow at the library, as well as Jenny Slate, the great comedian. She's going to Zoom in, and we're going to talk about the last ballot question we haven't touched on, the effort to audit the legislature. We're going to debate that question tomorrow. Hello again, Jim.
Hi there, Marjorie. Joining us live via Zoom is Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley. Of course, she represents the state's 7th congressional district. Congresswoman, good to talk to you.
Good afternoon.
Hi.
Congresswoman, thank you very much for being with us. So Kamala Harris has been very, very busy out on the campaign trail, and she's been on a lot of shows this week, including she was with Bret Baier on Fox last night. She was with Howard Stern. She was with Charlemagne the God this week. Part of the reason she was with Charlemagne the God is she's been doing really well. I mean, Black women have been big supporters of Democratic candidates, including Joe Biden. Black men a little bit less with Kamala Harris. So what do you make of that?
Well, first, let me just, remind folks, we've been in a 70-day sprint here. Kamala Harris didn't have the same runway of a typical candidate. This race has been an anomaly in so many ways. And she's doing the work of earning every vote. And as someone who's traveled the country for her, and I'll be, back on the road in a matter of hours, I'm very encouraged by the broad and diverse coalition of voters that I see her vision for this country resonating with, and the coalition that we're building. She certainly wants to be a president, and will be, provided we do our job in the next 19 days to see her elected, for every person who calls this country home, for every worker, for every family model, for every individual. And it is important to have responsive policies within that vision for a more just and inclusive America that speaks to the unique needs of different constituencies. And so that's what she's done here with the rollout of this agenda specifically for Black men. And I have to say, some 2 years ago, I launched an effort called Ayanna for Black Men, specifically to create curated safe spaces to build community, to build power, and to support Black men in longevity, because Black men have some of the shortest life expectancies. And our mandate was that Black men deserve to grow old, and that Black boy joy should be a rite of passage. And this agenda that Kamala Harris has rolled out proves to me that those are two values that she shares as well. And moreover, 4 years ago, at the height of COVID, she and I rolled out legislation called the Saving Our Street Act to support historically underrepresented and BIPOC businesses, small businesses, recognizing the role that they play as critical social community and economic anchors, and a tenant ostensibly wholesale. That legislation that she and I proposed together is now a part of this agenda to support Black entrepreneurship.
One last thing on this topic, Congresswoman Pressley. Barack Obama hit the campaign trail for Kamala Harris the other day, starting in Pennsylvania, and his message was directed at particularly at Black male voters, particularly young Black male voters. A number of high-profile Black men in this country, including supporters of Kamala Harris, didn't like what they described as the finger-wagging of President Obama directed at that constituency. Why not at other constituencies that are not coming around at the rate that others believe they should be? What was your reaction to what President Obama had to say that day?
Look, Black men are no different than any other constituency. They're not a monolith, and it's important that we have different messages and, against responsive legislation to all of their needs. I think what's important here is that Kamala Harris is taking them seriously. She's actively listening to their needs, and that's not something she just started in the heat of a campaign. And you see that reflected in this agenda that she's rolled out that really is taking historic steps to focus on health issues that impact Black men, disproportionately advancing the financial freedom for Black families, lowering the cost of insulin, legalizing cannabis, and making sure that industry benefits those previously impacted by past marijuana policies, and more. So I know Kamala, I know her well. She's been a colleague in the Senate, and we've worked very closely since she's been vice president on many issues of consequence. And more recently, her brother-in-law, Tony West, who certainly is a leader in his own right in many ways, we came together for a combined event initiated by Colette Phillips and Michael Curry and Mo Cowan and others. In partnership with Ayanna for Black Men, we had this Black Men for Kamala event that Tony West came to speak at. And, again, Black men understand the intersectionality of issues. They're very clear about what's at stake in this election, and they care about the things that Kamala Harris has been leading on: voting rights, criminal legal reform, maternal justice, and again, generational legacy and building wealth through home ownership and entrepreneurship. What I love about Kamala, and I think if I could be fair, I think our party, every political party has struggled with this, is that we tend to single issue constituencies, and we tend to act as if people just are single issue. And we can't just talk about criminal legal reform. This isn't just about mitigating the struggles of people. We do need to do the work of dismantling mass incarceration, but this is also about harnessing the aspirations of people. And you see that mirrored and reflected in this plan, including the bill that she and I worked on together, the Saving Our Street Act, providing targeted relief and funding for our small businesses like barbershops, beauty salons, bodegas, clean tech, all the things.
We're talking to Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley. Congresswoman, I'm sure you know better than we that it appears that Israel has killed the leader of Hamas. A week or two ago, they killed the leader of Hezbollah. You are someone who's been calling for a ceasefire since very early on. Does this provide an opportunity even for Netanyahu to be pushed into a position where a ceasefire becomes real?
My position remains the same. We have to do everything to save lives, to de-escalate, tensions in the region. Diplomacy, in my opinion, is how we get there. We need a permanent bilateral ceasefire and no more bombs. We have to save lives. I've spent, time with people impacted, and I carry those stories and the names of their loved ones, with me, and that keeps me grounded and clear about the path to peace. And it's diplomacy. It's not bombs.
The Michigan is among the states that matter most, that is very close. John King is with us from CNN every Tuesday, and he's interviewed a number of people who traditionally vote Democratically. They generally like Kamala Harris, but because of what's going on in Gaza in particular, they're saying not that they'll vote for Trump, but they may not vote at all. The administration apparently yesterday said if Israel does not allow food and other necessary supplies to get into northern Gaza by the end of the month, there'll be some effect on military aid we send. Has the Biden-Harris administration done enough to exert influence over Prime Minister Netanyahu's decisions?
Yeah, again, we can't bomb our way to peace. And for over a year now, I've been calling for a bilateral permanent ceasefire. We have to de-escalate. Diplomacy is the path. We cannot bomb our way to peace. And I've never seen, vengeance as a sound foreign policy doctrine. And so far as the dynamics you talk about in Michigan, again, this is not a traditional presidential campaign. It is an anomaly in every way. And I'm very encouraged by what I've seen on the ground and what we've been able to accomplish in these 70 plus days. That being said, this will be a close race. And so, of course, those dynamics that you've offered there matter. But I am very encouraged by the fact that increasingly so people get that perfection is never on the ballot. But in this instance, progress is. And ultimately, who you elect are partners. And part of partnership is accountability. And I think more people are coming to that realization, the more in my role as co-founder of the Stop Project 2025 Task Force alongside Congressman Jared Huffman and others, that the stakes could not be higher. And I know people go weary of our saying this is the most important election of your lifetime. This is the most consequential election. The stakes could not be higher. The contrast more clear. Donald Trump is about taking us back, about controlling every aspect of people's lives, from your womb to your bedroom to the classroom, and about, wholesale policy violence and harm to every person that calls this country home. Whereas Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are about restoring those freedoms that have been gutted, expanding them, and they're about the future. And so I'm encouraged that the optimism, the enthusiasm that I saw in those early hours and days of her campaign, we now see that translating into mobilization. But I'm not at all confused about where we find ourselves, Jim. This race will be close, and I am not only out here doing the work in the trenches of motivating those that are already mobilized and keeping them engaged and doing all the things we need to do, but also still doing the work concertedly of persuasion and conversion. We're not taking anything for granted here. We know we still have a case to make, we still have a vision to offer, and we still have votes and confidence to earn.
We're speaking with Congresswoman Anna Presley. We're going to take a quick pledge break, but we're going to speak with her a little bit more after the break. You're listening to Boston Public Radio 89.7 GBH, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
You count on Boston Public Radio for context, analysis, and insight, and Boston Public Radio counts on you. It's our fall membership drive, and we're raising the money needed to keep this show supported in the months ahead. Pitch in and keep the conversation going. Call 888-897-9424 or give online at gbhnews.org.
Here's one of the people that donated and left a comment. Lauren from Winchester. She says she listens every day. Morning Edition, Jim and Marjorie are the best, despite the news being so depressing these days. I think that's a general feeling throughout much of the hinterlands, as it were, that this is a tough, a very tense time for the news because of this election and because of a lot of other reasons. But we appreciate the people that take the time to donate to us. We appreciate people that take the time, in addition, to comment, to say nice things about GBH, NPR, and our show in particular. This is the last day of the fall pledge drive. So if you've been on the fence, you've been procrastinating, this is it for many, many weeks now before we have another pledge drive. If you do tune in every day, if you are someone that appreciates the programming all day and on the weekends, this is an opportunity, if you can swing it, to swing a little bit and throw us some cash. We have two nice offerings today to entice you. That would be for $12.50 a month. That would be the lovely little felt hat with the nice soft interior. It's like a beanie cap with the GBH logo on it, and the very nice earbuds, which, I mean, the earbuds are the greatest things ever, aren't they? 888-897-9424. 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org.
I also want to thank listeners who've left comments. Only 3 comments so far, at least those they've shared, said, I love Marjorie, Jim's not so bad. That's only 3, which is actually a very low number for a usual day. I mean, again, just think of the last week or so. Ken and Sarah Burns were joining us, talk about their incredible new film about Leonardo.
Yep.
The governor yesterday, the attorney general the day before, Congresswoman Presley now, and we're in mid-conversation, debates on all 5 ballot questions. Sunita Williams zooming in from the International Space Station yesterday. I think there's a lot of value here and a lot that should matter to your life, both in terms of information, entertainment, whatever it is. And if you share that view, please call 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org. 70% of our money, give or take a few bucks, comes from listener support. This myth that we are a creature of the federal government is exactly that, a myth. Less than 10% of our money comes from the federal government. You're what keep us afloat. All the great shows in the
You think it would be
station.
on Trump's enemies list?
Well, if you're not, then you're really maybe not doing something right. In any case, 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org. Welcome back to Boston Public Radio. Mark Regan and Jim Browdy. We're continuing our conversation with Congresswoman Anna Presley.
Congresswoman, we've had ballot questions all week long, discussing the 5 ballot questions, the 5th one about auditing the legislatures tomorrow. We just talked with Education Secretary Patrick Tutwiler before you. We talked yesterday with the governor and Andrea Campbell before that, the attorney general. They are all against getting rid of the MCAS exam, and the chief argument is that there will be no statewide accountability at all without the MCAS for graduation, and the kids that don't do well will not get that help, the opportunity to take the test 4 more times. And particularly hurt will be kids in urban schools, kids of color and stuff. I know you disagree with that, so give us your argument on the other side.
Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, I believe we all want the same things for our children, for our students, for our learners. We want enriching learning environments that give them the tools they need to grow and thrive. We want our kids to feel safe, to feel loved, curious, equipped to take on the world, We want them to be supported when they struggle, and we want them to be celebrated when they excel. And in the grand scheme of things, testing is a tool. That is really all it is. So that, again, that's not to say there isn't a role for formative and summative assessments, but we need to be focused on all the factors that contribute to student success and equip our schools and our educators with the tools they need to support our learners. So, something I've always championed are those holistic supports in social emotional learning, school nurses, social workers, guidance counselors, trauma-informed learning communities. We have to listen to student feedback, educator feedback. We have to consider GPA. It's just one metric. So I don't think that it should be the metric to determine whether or not someone graduates. And I'll just say personally, as someone who was not a great test taker, I'm very fortunate that I had educators who saw me holistically, saw some of my leadership qualities and the other ways in which I was excelling. And if that had not been true, I don't know if I'd be a congresswoman today if someone had not thought to see the totality of me and to consider my life holistically. So metrics are important, but high stakes tests in Massachusetts have really gotten in the way of instruction, and they've become a source of great anxiety for students, for parents, and educators.
What other ways were you excelling?
Hello, what other ways was I excelling?
Yeah.
Well, oh my gosh, now Jim, I feel like Jim's going to be trying to find my transcript or something.
I'm looking.
Jim. Okay.
Okay.
But I was a student leader. I was, president of student government.
I know you were.
President of my class.
You were?
Yeah, I knew.
Yes,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, from seventh or eighth grade all the way until senior year, and
Wow.
people stopped running against me. But I did excel. But
that's pretty good.
Excel in English and history, and was a competitive debater as well. So, there were other contributions that I made to my school community, into the classroom. And if the totality of my intellectual acumen and what I could contribute had been based on a single test, I am very confident I would not be a congresswoman today. So I'm proud to stand with educators from the Massachusetts Teachers Association in support of Yes on 2.
Speaking of Congresswoman today, your former job, you're in one of those dead-end jobs as city councilor in Boston where no one ever goes. No, in all seriousness, early on, one of the first times we talked to you was about your crusade around liquor licenses, one of the great injustices of all time. And I believe I'm correct when I say you were among those who correctly said, why in the hell is the legislature involved in deciding where and how many liquor licenses should go in Boston? So finally, there was some movement. We talked to Mayor Wu about it the other day. 225 licenses, some restricted. How do you feel about where it is? And should the legislature have any role in 2024? I know they legally have a role. Should they?
I think increasingly people have understood with a growing racial wealth gap and a shrinking of safe spaces for some of our most marginalized, from the LGBTQ to Black folks, and even the brain drain that has occurred over time because people have struggled to sort of find safe space and community that would encourage them to put down roots here, that the argument has been made. And it was incredible to be at the State House, and I'm grateful to Counselor and Representatives Royal, respectively, Senator Miranda, and the entire Boston delegation, of course, Lieutenant Governor Driscoll and Governor Healy, President Spilka. I mean, it was really a team effort. The Black hospitality workers organization, all the Black restaurateurs that leaned in on this. I mean, this was a third rail issue. I can't tell you how many people told me, and I've heard this many times, Jim, so it's in Marjorie, it's not just on this, but, do not touch this issue or you're done. This is politically risky. You're right. It is an unjust status quo, but it's working well for a lot of people, and you don't want to upset the apple cart. But I worked on that issue with two mayors. It was actually the last piece of business on Mayor Menino's desk before he left City Hall. So Tom Menino, Marty Walsh, and of course, my council colleagues at the time. That was for 75 licenses, and it was very impactful. And there's also lessons that we learned from that process. So to see that foundational work, that legacy built upon, expanded upon, now we're talking about 200 plus licenses, it's going to go a long way. Everybody deserves to have equitable access to walkable amenities. And restaurants are not only about where we celebrate important life milestones, but also they're critical social and economic anchors. The jobs they create for people who experience barriers to employment, but also again, the wealth building aspect, and those licenses will support that in perpetuity. So it was a great day, and I'm grateful for the partnership of the legislature.
Talking to Ayanna Pressley, Congresswoman, 7th Congressional District. Before you go, one of the things we didn't get to with you that we've talked for the last several days off and on about the incredible comments that Donald Trump made about the enemy within, using the National Guard, potentially the military. Brett Baer yesterday in this interview on Fox News with Vice President Harris attempted to suggest that he had never said it. I would say that it's fair to say that you were among what Donald Trump would consider to be the enemy within. He mentioned Adam Schiff specifically. He's mentioned Nancy Pelosi before. I know you want Kamala Harris. I know you're convinced she's going to be elected. How worried are the Ayanna Presleys of the world, personally, I don't mean societally, I know you are, about a Trump presidency?
Well, to be honest, Jim, I don't give myself too much mental headspace to worry for too long, because I know I just have to work. People are depending on us to stand in the gap. And, again, I'm not being dramatic when I say I do believe this election is a matter of life and death of our democracy, certainly. But will have deeply consequential impacts on everyone's life. Project 2025, that is not just some, wish list, extreme bucket wish list. It's a playbook. And they have proven time and again that they don't make threats. They make promises. They will make good on that. It will dismantle the federal government as we know it, certainly implicate the Supreme Court, which have already been enlisted as co-conspirators in this extremist march. So I don't allow myself to worry too much. And so far as Donald Trump seeing me as an enemy, what is shocking about that? I mean, this is exactly why he won't share the stage with Kamala Harris again. So I'm not, he's whether it's Kamala Harris, Tish James, Maxine Waters, the list is long. He's very intimidated by unflappable Black women who know their stuff and are prepared to do the work and have the moral clarity and strength of conviction and a vision for this country. And Kamala Harris certainly has that in spades. And as I said, in a matter of hours, I'll be getting back out there on the road. And I will keep my word to y'all. And I will call in from the road.
Yeah, we really like that, actually.
Great.
Really
yes,
would.
I can let you all know what we're seeing. And
Great.
I do want to say as I close out, I have the great honor of participating in Provincetown's 40th anniversary Women's Week. It was my first time in Provincetown. They invited me up for a Joe Hay, who's an incredible artist, has painted this Persister series. And they were hanging it up. It includes, it's crazy to even share wall space with these people, but, myself and Kamala Harris and Stacey Abrams and Hillary Clinton, Nancy Pelosi and others. And so we went up there for a chat, but people were stopping me on the street and saying, I love you on Jim and Marjorie. We love them. We love when you're on. So listen, I know Charlemagne's got the God, but we need to come up with some other qualifier for you two, because I do get this feedback all the time. So I don't know, Jim and Marjorie, it might not, really give you guys enough for the role you're playing out there, So
how about Jim and Marjorie, the Godettes? How about that? How about that as a possibility?
That's right.
Ayanna Pressley. In all seriousness, we'd love to talk to you from the road. So stay in touch. And thanks for your time today.
Congresswoman, thank you.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah, you have my word on that. Thanks so much.
I think the debating team served you well. I think that was very.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon. Be well. Thanks.
Thank you very much. We've been speaking with the Congresswoman from the state's 7th Congressional District. That, of course, would be Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley. And we thank her very much for her time and those kind words. We're big in Provincetown, Jim. Okay, we're going to take another quick pledge break. But when we get back, your in-laws delight in making snide comments about you and your kid in a language they think you don't speak or understand, but you do. Do you have an obligation to confess that to the family, that you've understood every dirty, nasty, insulting word? This is the question for another round of Am I the A-hole on Boston Public Radio. The number to call or text is 877-301-8970. You're listening to Boston Public Radio on Zoom at youtube.com/GBH News.
Live, local, 3 hours a day, 5 days a week. Jim Browdy, Marjorie Egan, Boston Public Radio. It's here on GBH Radio because of your support. Now's your chance to keep the conversation going. Give online at gbhnews.org or call 888-897-9424.
This is the last day of the pledge drive, so get with it is the bottom line. I'm serious. I mean, if you're not going to give, then you're not going to give. I don't understand why, if you're listening, you wouldn't give something, anything, whatever you can afford. If you can do five.
Presley just said.
What?
We're huge in Provincetown.
Well, okay, and I hope there are a lot of people in Provincetown that are contributors, but that's
right.
not quite
You
enough.
might be good in Eastham, Wellfleet.
Wenham, I'm told I'm huge. I don't know about you. No. In all seriousness, this is the last day, and obviously you're listening. So if you're listening, there's some value in your life from this show. I assume the other shows in the station, not to mention NPR, are a pretty important part of your life too. They cost a lot of money to put on, so do what you can. 888-897-9424. gbhnews.org. Margie's going to tell you what she calls the enticements, the gifts, if you make a certain contribution are. But as I always say, even if they weren't there, I hope you get as much out of this as we get from listening to our colleagues here. So 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org.
Did you mention the GBH match deal?
No. I'm so sorry. I didn't know there was one. Go right ahead.
Today's Thursday, right?
It
October
is.
17th. Yeah, so there is a match.
Is there a match?
Every dollar you give, the GBH Member Match Fund will donate an additional $1. It's their way of encouraging people to support. So you get double your money kind of deal.
Yes,
Obviously,
indeed.
if you give $15, it makes $30. $100 makes $200. You get the idea. Doubles. And it's only going on for a little while longer. I'm not sure how long. It doesn't say. But in any case, it's going on right now. So if you've been hesitating, this is a great time to donate. 888-897-9424. Or gbhnews.org. As Jim said, this is the last day of the pledge. We will not have another pledge for quite some time. And if we didn't have these pledges from time to time, then we would have commercials. So we have these two little gifts today, wonderful gifts, actually. The GBH 89.7 earbuds with the little white case to put them in, and the little purple logo. And then we have that nice winter beanie with the GBH logo on it.
I like that a lot, actually.
Yeah,
I really do.
It's very warm. It's got that
Fits
nice
all
fleece
sizes, looks good.
inside. It
Yep.
does. I have a really big head.
Yeah.
Jim has a huge head.
That was totally
So
unnecessary.
the hat won't fit you, Jim. But it fits me.
Maybe if I get two.
Yeah. But anyway, the number is 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org. The match is going on right now. You can double your money, 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org.
Welcome back to Boston Public Radio. We're streaming live from Studio 3 in Brighton. You can check us out at youtube.com/GBHnews. We're at the library tomorrow. Do you need tickets? I can never remember.
You do not need tickets.
Do you need to RSVP?
You do not need to RSVP.
Okay, so most married people will be able to relate to the experience of having to make, well, it's not just married people, partners have to make nice with prickly in-laws. But what happens when those in-laws are making comments about you in your presence, just wait, in a language they think you don't speak? That's the scenario we're gifting you today for this week's edition of Am I the A-hole? You know the drill. We pull our favorite supposedly real-life scenario from Reddit and give you the chance to weigh in by calling or texting 877-301-8970. Here it is. A wife moves with her husband and children from Canada to the husband's native country, which is Germany. They start spending time with his German family, his mother, his sister, somebody else, who have a lot of opinions about the couple and their child, Lilith. They don't like the name Lilith, and they make it known to each other through offhand comments they utter in German. What they don't know is the wife speaks German, but that she chooses not to confront them in order to keep appearances up. This goes on for about a year and comes to blows when the wife's sister-in-law calls her, quote, a fat, ugly hockey addict, meaning the Canadian thing, fat, ugly, in German. The wife makes the grand reveal that she does understand them, has understood them this whole time. Family is outraged, not at themselves for what they said about her, but at the wife for hiding the secret that she speaks German. So the number, I think that's clear, 877-301-8970. Who's the a-hole? Is it the woman who was, I guess, dishonest with her in-laws, where she didn't say, I know what you're saying, and you should know that? Or is that title of a-hole reserved for the husband's mother and sister who were saying horrible things about his wife? 877-301-8970. I would have to say, can you say anything worse about somebody than that they are a fat, ugly hockey addict? I don't think so.
It's really great. I mean, think about this. They think she doesn't understand German, and they're saying all these, as she said, very unkind things, making fun of her fashion choices, making rude comments on her hair and her makeup. When she was pregnant, really making these nasty remarks about her pregnant belly, which she was already insecure about. And the whole time she knows exactly what they're saying. And then they go on to make fun of the name that they give the kid, that she and her husband give the kid, Lilith.
I love Lilith.
Brilliant. The Lilith Festival, remember that? That was a big thing.
Of that, too.
Yeah. So it's a lovely name. And apparently, not only is it a lovely name for this baby, it is a name that has been in the wife's family. Her middle name, her mother's name, her grandmother's name, her great-grandmother's name. So what is wrong with these people?
Can I say something to you?
What?
Vetter Hässlicher Hockey Suki Tiger. Now, that is a phonetic. Is that real, Zoe? Is that real? Zoe apparently speaks German.
Fit right in Berlin.
I know
Jim.
that wasn't the pronunciation, left something lacking. But
But
that is fat, ugly hockey addict. Now, you think, when we were contemplating doing this, he said, let's not do this, because who's going to side with the woman who, with the saying that the a-hole is the woman, right, who was being criticized? I say she's an a-hole. She should have said right away to the other everybody says something bad about everybody. She should have said to them right away, I speak German. I just want to caution you. I know what you're saying about me.
Are you kidding?
I'm not kidding.
They're making nasty remarks about her hair and her belly when she's pregnant, and she's the jerk
for not telling him. Yeah,
the in-laws are the jerks.
Do you ever say anything bad about anybody you're related to?
Never.
Okay. I mean, okay.
But at least try to make sure they're out of the room. But we can all relate to this, though, because people do say nasty things about other people, and you're really getting hoisted on your own petard when you're a smarty pants there, and you think
it's okay for the woman just to listen to this for a year,
yeah,
and never say I understand every single word you're saying?
I think she wanted to get a sense of the character of her in-laws, and she found it out. And they're, by the way, after they went on, they all yelled at her. Did you say that? That they all yelled at her? No, I didn't. Yeah. When she reveals that she knew German and spoke German, they were yelling at her, saying this was all her fault. She and her husband left with the adorable little Lilith and haven't spoken to the in-laws since.
Here's an anonymous texter. The husband is the a-hole. He understands German. Why didn't he tell his sister and mother to shut up? That's another good possibility.
Well, apparently they did shut up for a little while, but it was only a brief period, and then it got worse, and the sister-in-law joined in.
877-301-8970. Who's the a-hole? The mother and sister-in-law who were bad-mouthing this woman nonstop, or the wife who was being bad-mouthed, who chose for more than a year never to tell her mother-in-law and sister-in-law, I speak German, and I understand every horrible word you're saying.
Okay, let's go. Spill
Margie
my water.
Just spilled her water. That's shocking. I haven't done that since yesterday. It's incredible. It's been like 22 hours.
Let's go to Jill in the car. Thanks for calling, Jill.
Hi.
Hi, good morning. Good afternoon, I guess it is.
Whatever it is.
My comment was already just taken with one of the texts that you got.
Say it again.
The husband is the a-hole.
Why is that?
Because he never said anything for a year.
Yeah, well, that is
She
actually...
should pack and leave and then file for divorce. That's what she should have done.
Well, that's...
Oh, you don't fool around, Jill.
Hey,
there
Jill,
you go.
Thank you. Excellent.
For a year?
Whoops, we lost you there, Jill. That's for a year. That's an issue. I think that's a legitimate
Paul
issue.
from Worcester just sent us a text in German.
You did?
Yes.
What does it say?
Well, I can't read it because it's in German. But the essence of it is that the parents are the a-holes for saying all these things.
Du bist fett und hässlich.
You're fat and ugly.
Exactly. I wasn't talking about it. That is apparently Zoe took German in high school.
Some of the high school German she can remember. I guess what they were saying in her high school.
In
German
all seriousness,
class.
I mean this seriously because I know what the answer is to anybody. You've obviously said a bad thing or two about somebody you're related to in your life. Isn't that obvious?
I don't
So
think
you an
I would
a-hole
ever.
for doing that?
I don't. I mean, it is pretty crummy when the person is 5 feet away from you and she's your pregnant daughter-in-law carrying your future grandchild to say nasty things.
You've
about
never called
what
someone
her
a fat,
belly looks
ugly
like?
hockey
No, I have
addict?
not.
Never.
Never.
Okay.
Have you?
877-301-89. Only to fat, ugly hockey addict. No, I've never. I don't use the word ugly either, by the way.
And if your children if your children name your grandchild a name you don't like, you know what you do?
Live with it.
You shut up.
I don't know where that's ever happened. Beth in Belmont, you are next on Boston Public Radio. Who's the a-hole, Beth?
I think the husband's the a-hole because he should have told his parents immediately to stop picking on his wife and that she understands every word that you're saying. And then the in-laws are the assholes after that.
A-hole, we call them a-holes here. By the way, that's, everybody seems to think it's a husband. I hadn't even thought about that before. Do we have any idea why he didn't say anything earlier on?
I don't know, but the texters are really giving the husband a hard
They
time.
are?
He's the a-hole. He understands German. Why didn't he tell his sister and mother-in-law to shut up? And people think it's the in-laws or the husband. Nobody thinks it's the woman. Dean Ashland, the husband is the a-hole. He should defend his wife and tell the in-laws to be respectful.
Wow, we got to take a break, Marjorie.
Yeah. And
what do you mean, yeah?
Someone said they were 23 months pregnant with my twins. I don't think you can be pregnant for that long.
Yeah.
We'll read that when we come back. We're talking
That
about
must
who
really
is
hurt for 23 months. I mean, I've never been pregnant. I know you have, but 23 months is a lot.
It's a long time.
It's a long time.
I'll look into this carefully
I wish
during
you
the
would.
break.
Do a
But
little
meanwhile,
research.
we're going to keep talking about this to the top of the hour. Who is the a-hole? The number is 877-301-8970.
It's time to support Boston Public Radio on GBH. Listener contributions pay for the program and keep it on the air. You don't have to give much to make a difference, but please make a difference by giving now at gbhnews.org or by calling 888-897-9424.
We have a lot of fabulous comments that some of you are kind enough to leave if you have time when you were kind enough to make a donation. Lynn in Bedford covered every base. I'm already a GBH sustainer. This is a special gift for BPR. The ballot question debates moderated by the fabulous Jim and Marjorie were so valuable to me. They sparked numerous conversations with friends and family. Weekly guests, Andrea Cabral, Shirley Young, Julia Kayam, the Revs, John King, to name a few. Monthly conversations with the mayor and governor. Of course, Am I the A-Hole segments make BPR indispensable. Jamie from Rutland, Jim and Marjorie get me through the day. Douglas, North Kingston. I love Jim and Marjorie. And by the way, when we have an opportunity, not nearly enough, but at the library to meet people who are kind enough to listen to the show and those who are kind enough to make contribution, it means everything to us. So we thank all of you for your donations. If you're good enough to leave a comment afterwards, we thank you as well. It's really appreciated. The number's 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org if you want to add to that list.
Yeah, and this is the last time you're going to hear us doing this pledge thing for quite some time now.
Correct.
And we very much appreciate people who have given during this time and taken the time to write these nice comments, which Jim just read. We have two nice presents today, the earbuds, the GBH 89.7 earbuds. They're in a white case, and they're the ones that really securely fit in your ears, which is a big deal. Having lost earbuds myself.
You have hiccups.
Yeah, I have hiccups.
Wow, that's horrible.
And we also have this wonderful GBH felt hat, which is nice for the wintertime. Very cozy. It's a beanie cap with the GBH logo on it. So
Do you know they have the GBH brown paper bag to put over your head when you have hiccups? Do you know that? It's got the GBH logo, little eye holes for your... I'm sorry, what's the number?
Okay, the number is 888-897-9424, 888-897-9424, or gbhnews.org. And as Jim said, we appreciate very much that people donate to the station, because otherwise we wouldn't be here, let's face it. And
That's true. That's not rhetoric. That is true.
Well, 70% of the money comes from listeners like you guys that are listening right now, you guys and gals, I should say. So anyway, we really appreciate it. The number, again, 888-897-9424, or gbhnews.org.
Welcome back to Boston Public Radio. Jim Browdy and Marjorie Egan. We're actually streaming from our studio in Brighton. That would be Studio 3. You can watch us at youtube.com/GBH News or at the library tomorrow. And we're taking your calls on who is the a-hole. The mother and sister-in-law who were bad-mouthing their daughter-in-law in German for more than a year, or the daughter-in-law who knew German and knew every word they were saying, but chose not to tell them, so they are allowed to keep hanging themselves.
Now, this texter who claims that she was 23 months pregnant, I don't think that's possible, but in any case, she says she was, and she was pregnant with twins, and she treated her poor, tired feet to a desperately needed pedicure.
Yeah.
But we have talked about this a lot. If you go there's a lot of Vietnamese nail salons all around the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and a lot of the women that work there and the men that work there are speaking Vietnamese. And a lot of women, and this is one of them, are really concerned that when the one pedicurist is talking to the other pedicurist in Vietnamese and laughing,
It's about their feet.
It's about their feet. It's about their feet. That she said they were laughing about her very swollen feet and ankles and making fun of her, and she was embarrassed and she felt terrible. It's Danielle from Sterling. Anyway, she felt very, and I've had that experience too.
Yeah?
Yeah, well, I think a lot of people are self-conscious about their feet, and you're getting a pedicure, which I always do in the summertime, and you might be there and people are laughing and you think, they've laughed. What's the matter with my feet?
Let me ask you a
Laughing
quick
at my
question,
toenails,
if I may.
my bunions.
Now, if you...
my flat feet.
Do you speak Vietnamese?
I do not.
So then why are we talking about this?
Because she's brought up the nail salon thing.
Yeah, but she doesn't speak Vietnamese either.
No,
this
she doesn't.
is a situation where the woman speaks German.
I know,
You know what I'm saying?
but if you were a woman going to get pedicures, you would know about this fear that many women have that their feet are being ridiculed
I had one
at the nail
pedicure.
salon. You did?
I did, yeah. I had a sponsor in our old commercial.
Really?
radio
How'd that
station.
go?
It was, they were bad-mouthing my feet in many languages. They took the Babel course, or whatever it is. Janet in Boston, you're next on Boston Public Radio. Welcome to the show. Hi.
You need to watch the Seinfeld episode about the Vietnamese nail salon.
Oh, go ahead. I missed
it. Tell us. Tell us.
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's the same thing about the fear that they're Elaine, I think, that they're laughing. But anyway, I didn't call to talk about that. I wanted to say that in terms of the German family, of course, they're the a-holes for doing that, but totally agree that the husband should have stepped in.
Absolutely.
But the question I have is, if I was marrying into, which I did marry into I married a husband from another country.
A husband.
If I spoke that language of the country,
yeah,
I would be proud to show up there and be, hey, I'm in Germany. I speak German. I'm part of your family. It feels kind of, not calling her the a-hole, but
this is great.
Seems like an odd thing to keep.
You're a genius.
That's a great
Forget
point.
the criticism.
I wish I'd thought
How
of that.
inhospitable is that, or whatever the adjective? Is that an adjective?
Well, you know what I think, Janet?
Janet, that's brilliant.
I think she was suspicious right from the start. She was waiting for them to
No,
start.
but that's crappy. Janet nailed it. That is, Janet, thanks for the call. How perfect is that? Why didn't she say right away,
it's brilliant.
Is Auf Wiedersehen hello or goodbye?
I have no idea.
Why didn't she go to the place,
All I
then
know
leave and
about
say
is
Auf Wiedersehen?
Lederhosen.
Just say, I think Lederhosen is Austria. What is it? What is it, Zoe?
I don't know.
Auf Wiedersehen, whatever.
Auf Wiedersehen.
I mean, it's close
you know,
enough.
in those
Everybody knows
commercials
what
for
I'm
the
talking about.
DNA stuff,
Yeah.
they always say the person thought he was Italian, and suddenly
Yeah,
they
yeah.
get on the
They're going out of
Lederhosen because
business
it turns
or
out
whatever.
he was German.
But
Yeah,
what
there's
about
a
that? What
picture
she
of him.
just said? Why didn't she say right away,
'Cause she was-
in German, it's a pleasure to see you. I'm thrilled to live here.
Because she knew that sooner or later they were going to start making fun of her feet and her pregnant belly and saying she wore horrible clothes and saying she was a horrible mother. That she knew it was going to happen, and she wanted to catch them red-handed. Dave from Lynn, what do you think, Dave?
Hey, Dave.
Hey, long time. Called a few times. You guys are great.
Thanks.
So two things. So I think that to piggyback on other callers, yes, the husband is part the a-hole. He should have said something. But shame on his parents for not saying, talking smack about the guy's wife in front of her. They should do that in private.
That's
where,
right.
You're not.
That's right.
You're not,
Wait till she goes home.
You're not running your mouth. So to piggyback on that, so I come from the restaurant business.
Oh.
And I was a chef for many years, and I speak Spanish fluently. And I'm from California. Get a job with these restaurants, and all of a sudden, all the Hispanic people look at you, and they're talking bad about me in Spanish, and I'm understanding everything, and I don't say anything for months. And then all of a sudden, I get hung up. I just get fed up, and I say something in Spanish, And Jim and Marjorie, the look on their face, it's worth $1 million. They look at me like...
7 o'clock, Deaton and Warren.
Deaton and Warren. Okay. I'm Marjorie Egan.
Oh, I like the Lederhosen with a bare chest. I think I would show up at the library tomorrow if I were you. I'm Jim Browdy.
Thank you for tuning in.
Goodbye.
Hope you have a great afternoon.
The GBH Fall Membership Drive is ending soon. If you have yet to give, please make your contribution right now. Giving now will help pay for your Boston Public Radio listening in the months ahead. gbhnews.org or call 888-897-9424. I'm Maeve Buckley, and I'm joined by Sonia Lee.
That's right. And this is your last opportunity to support Boston Public Radio during the membership drive. And not only that, I think that Marjorie hinted that there is a match in effect. There is. We have a dollar for dollar match going on right now. We have just about 7 minutes for you to have your contribution doubled. And we're looking for 15 contributions in these last 7 minutes. And every one of them is going to be matched dollar for dollar. This is thanks to a very generous group of our GBH members. Ponying up the very last dollar for dollar match of Boston Public Radio. You can give at gbhnews.org or call 888-897-9424.
And when you support GBH by giving $12.50 per month, they'll donate the annual value of $60 to GBH. Give $15 per month, that becomes a combined $360 to help pay for Boston Public Radio in the months ahead. One-time gifts are also matched, but this dollar for dollar match is only on for about 5 more minutes. So make your gift right now, 888-897-9424, or make your gift online at gbhnews.org.
And we have 15 contributions. We are looking to match in the next 15 minutes. That's right. This is a really important goal, really essential in this moment. We're well positioned to meet our overall goal by this evening. But Boston Public Radio fans, we are looking for a rally right now. 15 contributions, and each one will be matched dollar for dollar. But we just got 5 minutes. You can give online, gbhnews.org, or 888-897-9424.
Thank you so much. If you've made that gift of support, taking advantage of this dollar for dollar match. We heard from William in Tennessee. Thank you so much, William. We also heard from Judith in Kingston, Rhode Island, who says, I listen to GBH all the time. Love Jim and Marjorie. So entertaining, and he's delightfully annoying. Thank you so much for your contribution, Judith. We also heard from a friend in Scituate. Make your gift right now. Join them by calling 888-897-9424 or online gbhnews.org.
And don't forget, you can pick up the last day offer if you want to do it and have that contribution count towards Boston Public Radio. This is the time to do it. You get the wireless earbuds and our knit cap, $12.50 a month, or a one-time gift of $150.
For the dollar for dollar match is going on, but it's wrapping up here in the next couple of minutes. If you get that call started or that online gift started, it will count. Make a monthly sustaining gift. It will be matched. A one-time gift of $500 or even $1,000 will also be matched. This extra money is courtesy of GBH members. So please help turn every possible matching dollar before time runs out. 888-897-9424 or give online. That's at gbhnews.org.
8 more contributions. Looking for 8 more contributions here in these last couple of minutes. Every gift will be matched dollar for dollar. And this is also your last opportunity to support Boston Public Radio and pick up our last day offer of the knit cap and the earbuds. That's $12.50 a month as a sustaining member, or a one-time gift of $150. Boston Public Radio fans looking for a little bit of rally here. Last call, 90 seconds here to go. If you're on the phone, on the web, it is going to count. You can call 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org.
What's trending? What's interesting? What's going on around town? We're talking all things arts and culture on The Culture Show, next on GBH 89.7.
Funding for our programs comes from you. And Rockland Trust Bank, helping foster healthy relationships with money by providing education and resources to the community, one neighborhood at a time. Rockland Trust Bank, where each relationship matters. Member FDIC. And the Boston Philharmonic with conductor Benjamin Zander, performing Beethoven's Egmont Overture, Bartók's Concerto for Orchestra, and Brahms' Violin Concerto with soloist Guy Braunstein at Symphony Hall, October 20th. Tickets at bostonphil.org.
Trusted. Local. News. You're listening to 89.7 WGBH, HD1 Boston. Online at gbhnews.org.